8 o'clock, time to go over the agenda for today's county commissioners meeting.
I agree with that.
Let's see, at 8:30 we got the Board of Equalization and Review. Mr. Gurley, you took care of the invocation? Okay. Mr. Bell, you gonna do the pledge?
Yes.
Okay. Then we have the approval of the minutes. Any adjustments to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, we have one change order we'd like to add to that. I believe Marcia has handed out the information to you. We have Mr. Mike McAllister here with Municipal Engineering in case you have any questions. We've been working with the school board, as y'all know, on the construction of the Grantham and the Spring Creek Middle Schools. Where we're at, they're at a point where they need to get the wet wells in. The wet wells are part of the pump stations at both locations. And the reason they need the wet wells in is that they will already be testing their HVAC system, and they have to have some place to discharge that condensation. So what we have agreed to, if you're in agreement, is to have Metcon do the construction on those as a change order. And that way we save time and money as far as waiting to bid those out. So what we're proposing, Mike has looked at the pricing that we've gotten. He feels comfortable with it. What we're looking at, if you look at the budget amendment, is that Spring Creek will be $89,210. Grantham will be $68,775 for a total of $157,985. And as y'all recall, the county is responsible for the water and sewer, so this will be paid by the county. Wayne and I had agreed with the school board that we would do all change orders on the school's projects jointly. So the school board voted yesterday to approve this, subject of course to your approval, because this contract is actually your contract. They have the contract on the school construction, but the sewer would be on yours. And what we're suggesting is, in order to save time, that you add this as part of their construction contract with Metcon. And the reason that the Spring Creek is more is there's about $16,500 in there. We need to have a drop manhole. Basically, that's a manhole where we have a significant drop in elevation, and so it requires one additional manhole on that. And that's kind of the broad overview. If you want to get into more details, we do have the engineer here to discuss that. But essentially, that's the overview on it. And we've been working with Ryan Parker with Metcon, and he's done a good job of getting the pricing that we need on this. So our recommendation is you move forward so that we don't lose any time on this and we don't slow down the project. Because as y'all saw the other day, they're making very good progress.
Okay. Mr. Pate.
I know we got to do it. Was this something that they expected, or is this something that just came up? Or?
No, we've been working with them probably for a couple of months on it. So what we're trying to do, because we've had delays, as y'all know, trying to get the land at Grantham. Spring Creek, they're moving along very quickly. We don't want any delays as far as getting the permitting and everything going. It has taken longer to review the plans at Spring Creek, working with the sanitary district. So that's been somewhat of a holdup there. And as you know, we had to hold up on the land at Grantham. So we want to cut any delays on this and go ahead and get this part of it installed. So this was something that you would want to have to do eventually. You were going to have to do it anyway as part of the wet wells, as part of the pump stations.
Okay, thank you.
Mike, anything you want to add?
I think you very well covered it.
Okay.
Could we get an update in regards to, from the wet wells going forward, any delays that we're having, as an example of putting in the sewer at Spring Creek, or kind of where we are on the other improvements?
We're pretty well run, we've had some delays as far as getting the Spring Creek stuff going. And as you know, the sanitary district, we're gonna be discharging the sewer to them, so they're kind of dictating how and when and so forth that we're gonna wind up doing that. So that's been a little bit of a challenge on Spring Creek. The biggest delay that we have with Grantham is, of course, we had a late start because of the land. But the other thing that's really holding us up is the rain. We've done the soils evaluation, we've done the pit test with the health department, but we cannot run the saturation test until we can get a dry spell that we can go out there and do that. And as you well know, we've had more rain this year than I think we've had in a good while. So that's what's really holding us up on Grantham.
I suppose I'm not quite understand why we're having difficulties on Spring Creek. Is there a problem with engineer or?
Well, they've added some things to the scope that we did not anticipate doing, such as a building. And they've added a paved driveway and some things of that nature. The reason for the drop manhole is in the last go-around of comments that we got back from the district, they wanted a trash basket put inside the wet well. Well, the way we had originally designed it, we had the county stub out, or the school stub out going into at one elevation, and then the little stub that the district wanted, which is 6 feet lower. So in order to accommodate the basket, we had to put a drop manhole in there, and that's the reasoning for that. The other little bit of cost there that's involved is we had to drop those wet wells down to accommodate about 10,000 gallons of storage so we can do a pumping off. And that's what we're in the process of getting right now, is a pumping off permit.
Well, you feel comfortable we can go ahead and get those resolved and get moving?
We're working as hard as we can to get them moved.
Because they're gonna finish these schools
I
up
know.
for what we saw, and we wanna make
Yeah.
sure that we've got utilities.
Well, and that's why we're going in this direction. We want to cut any delay we have, and the best way to do it was to add this as a change order to Metcon.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
So that's the only, is that the only adjustment?
Yes, sir. We do have one thing. We would like a closed session. And I'm not quite sure, I guess, with attorney-client privilege.
Yes, that, and also to discuss matters of location and expansion of industry.
Okay. Is that the only other adjustment?
Yes, sir. Marcia, that's it, isn't it? That's all we have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, and we got special recognition, employee service pins. And then at 11 o'clock, Ms. Goldsboro's gonna be here.
Right.
All right, appointment committee, Mr. Gurley, y'all got anything?
We have one.
Have one, okay. Then, Mr. Wood, if you would take over the public hearings and kind of explain that to us, please.
Okay, we've got two public hearings. Chip, you want to come up here and go over those, please? Three, excuse me.
We got two public hearing requests this morning. One is from Mr. Larry Jorvig to rezone a lot in the Brogdon Township from residential agricultural to village district. He is proposing a auto repair facility, which is not currently allowed in the current zone. The lot is 28,928 square feet in the Brogdon Township. It is zoned RA20 currently. He's asking for village district. It's on the south side of US 13 between US 117 and Sand Hill Drive. It's located at 583 South US 13 Highway. It is vacant currently. He is proposing a development of a auto repair facility there. He hasn't submitted any site plans for that.
Chip,
Yes, sir.
is that the same lot where the lady sent out the email protesting?
I think so.
It is.
Yes, this is the same law.
Have we had any other opposition?
Not that I'm aware of, no. Signs were posted, advertising was sent out, and adjoining property owners within 100 feet were notified. Like I say, the property is vacant. It's bordered on the north by houses, on the east by apartments, and on the south and west by houses. So it's a little mixed use in there. It's in the 1/2 mile buffer for Seymour Johnson Air Force Base. The base was notified, and we have a letter from the base on that. The staff recommendation is that the rezoning be approved. Location of the property on US 13 South is appropriate for a small business. There are mixed small businesses along there, mini storages and such. The village district allows for a mixture of residential and small commercial. The second rezoning request we have, any more questions on that particular one? The second one we have is from Glandon Forest Equity. And they are asking to rezone a parcel of property on another one on South US 13 Highway at Grantham. It is located on the north side of 13, approximately 1.55 acres for a small retail establishment. It is currently zoned village district, but the lot size exceeds the village district requirements, so a rezoning to community shopping is necessary due to the 1.5 acres size. It's located on the north side of South US 13 between Loop Road and Falling Creek Church Road. The address is 3334 South US 13 Highway. It's currently used as farmland. It's bordered on the east and west by farmland, on the north by a house, and on the south by a child daycare center and farmland. It's in the zoning area surrounding Grantham School. It is bordered on all sides by the village district. The staff recommendation is that the rezoning be approved.
That would also fall under the new middle school, just within a.
Correct.
Yeah. You had any opposition?
No opposition that I'm aware of. Sign was posted, adjoining property owners were notified, advertisement was run in the newspaper.
Any questions? Okay.
Thanks, Jim.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, the next one is the 2011 Community Development Block Grant Scattered Site Project Closeout. I'm going to ask Mr. Harris to come up and go over that with you.
Good morning. Whenever a community development project is completed, the county is required to conduct a public hearing, basically to notify the public that it is completed, and to simply indicate some of the achievements. In the case of your scattered site project for 2011, the county received $400,000. The objective was to provide replacement housing to 4 families. We were able to provide replacement housing for 3 families. We worked with 3 other, in fact, there were 6 families that were initially identified. We worked with all 6, and there were 3 of them that we worked with right up to the last minute, and were not able to, they were not able to resolve some issues they had with liens, and so they became ineligible, and so we will not be able to complete those. There's no action that's required of the board other than just a formal announcement that the project's is completed, and we'll be submitting the closeout documentation to the state by the end of the month.
Okay, any questions?
But we have to have a public hearing on that to close it out.
Just to notify the public.
Okay.
Quick question. Since, the other 3 dropped out, was there money left over since the other 3 dropped out?
Well, in the case of one, she wound up going into a nursing home, and so her house became vacant. That made it ineligible. For the other 2, they tried to resolve the liens that they had on their property, and in fact, in one case was because of decisions they'd made somewhere else that got attached to that property, and they were simply unable to negotiate and resolve it. And the requirement in the program is that the property has to be free and clear of all liens other than a mortgage. You can have a mortgage on your property because that's normal. But if a low-income person has a lien or a judgment on their property, it's got to be paid off, satisfied, before they qualify for replacement housing.
Sorry, maybe I wasn't clear in my question. Since those people had to drop out because of those reasons, was there money left in the grant itself that has to be returned?
Oh, I thought you said money, but money left?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
In fact, just about a fourth, 90,000.
Okay.
That was reserved for that one family. I'm sorry, I thought you said
I
maybe.
just
I didn't
didn't
understand.
maybe you
money.
didn't. I'm sorry.
I apologize. And it basically de-obligated. We never
Okay.
received it, just de-obligated. It's funds we weren't going to be able to use. We requested an extension in order to help the last family resolve some same legal issues. We got those resolved, but the state indicated they weren't going to provide any other extension to address any other housing needs. If they had, we wouldn't be having this public hearing. We'd be working on the house, but they indicated they would provide an extension for any other housing. So we close it out.
And that's just my question.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Unfinished business, Mr. Wood?
This is a carryover from the last week. As you know, we had to advertise this, and it's a motion to approve a quitclaim deed and authorize the Wayne County Memorial Association to have a curb cut connecting to the Jeffries Building parking lot. I think we went over the details at the last meeting.
Yes, sir.
Does anybody have any questions on that? Okay. Borden's got everything in order to do that, so we're ready to go. Under the consent agenda, we have some applications for property tax exclusion, some applications for present use value. Then we have a proclamation for a day of prayer in Wayne County, County Government Month in Wayne County proclamation, the Wayne County 2011 Community Development Block Grant Catalyst Fair Housing Plan update. And then we have a resolution supporting the North Carolina Division of Marine Fisheries use of the supplement process to implement reductions on southern flounder. And this is to protect the flounder base in North Carolina. There's been a lot of encroachment, I think, from both Virginia and South Carolina because they've outlawed them, is my understanding. Under new business, we have the Wayne County Department of Social Services Customer Service and Staff Satisfaction Project. This will be a presentation by Northwoods Consulting Partners, Inc. I gave you a fairly detailed memorandum on that, included with his PowerPoint, but the representative from the company will be here to talk about this. I know that two of you have sat through this presentation before because you're on the DSS board, but basically, put it in a nutshell, this is to install software to run the DSS department. We are still, if you can believe it, largely paper-driven in the DSS department here in 2015. As I said in the memo, the primary benefits to this is it will speed up the intake process. Currently, if someone were to come in, and I use the example in the memo, if someone were to come in here and let's say they qualified, or the initial person taking the application felt like they qualified or possibly qualified for 4 separate programs, they would have to enroll with an individual staff member in each one of those areas. Because the rules are so voluminous, we have to have different people trained in those areas. But what really eats up the time is we're having to do all of that manually, and they're having to go back and get the same basic information over and over and over again, and that's eating up a tremendous amount of staff time. With this, once somebody enrolls, it'll be typed into the database, and any one of our employees can access that by the person's name, social security, address, do multiple ways, call up their record, and it will have everything we've ever done with them. And that's the other thing, is it will have a historical database of what all programs they've been in from the time we have them. And we have been scanning these records in, so we'll actually be able to create the database for past enrollments and things. So once we get this done, we'll be fully electronic on all of our records and the intake process. There'll be a tremendous savings from this. I gave you the spreadsheet showing that the state will pay a large portion of this, and what they don't pay, we can pay for from the savings in a 5-year period. And that includes interest to borrow the money. And my recommendation to you is, and Pam and I have looked at it, is we're recommending that you borrow the necessary money. I think it's about $714,000 over a 59-month period, and basically 5 years. And with that, we checked with Davenport, and the most recent one they had was at about 1.65% for a comparably rated county. So for that kind of interest rate over a roughly 5-year period, this whole project pays for itself, and we have converted from paper basically to an automated system for our records and intake process at DSS. So this is a huge leap forward. And again, over a 5-year period, it pays for itself. Starting the 6th year, we actually start making money on it because we will no longer have the debt service payments on the installation.
Do you foresee that this is going to possibly eliminate some staff, or either keep from adding on staff?
Both. It'll definitely keep from adding on to staff, and we think there could be further cuts. As I said in the memo, we're cutting out 2 part-times and 3 full-time jobs on this, and that's where a lot of the savings is coming to implement this. But we do think once they get converted over, I don't think we could do it the first year, because if anything, we're going to be running some things jointly. Once you convert over, we think in future years there may be some possible more cuts in personnel.
Just a comment if I could.
Right.
The NC Fast has put such a huge work demand on the staff that we needed a solution. We're not the first ones to blaze this trail, which we don't need to be. There are many other counties that are moving to this. I believe it was Johnson County, is that correct, Ray, that had to put on like 30 more workers because of the demands of trying to keep up and keeping the dollars over from the federal level because they got to meet certain requirements. And we've been having to work in this county a lot of overtime to be able to meet that demand.
That's right.
And this should have been part of NC Fast, in my opinion, in the first place. The state failed to complete the project, and that's just my opinion. So the counties are now having to go out and do this on their own.
Right. Well, you're exactly right, because when we looked at it in the county I was in previously, we were waiting on the state to finish it. And everybody thought, well, it'd be better if the state software does it. Well, as you all know, the state software doesn't do it. Now, the advantage of this software also is it's the only one that integrates fully with NC Fast in North Carolina.
That's right.
And this group has, I think I put in the memo to you, this group already has 37 of the 100 counties in North Carolina. So we're with probably the largest provider of this kind of software. And the advantage to us of that is, number one, it's someone else has already debugged it. It works. They've been around for several years on this. And the other thing is, if you go to make changes later on, you've got 37 other counties to help spread that development cost. If you're with somebody and you're one of 3 clients, then that development cost gets split among the 3 instead of the 37 or 38. So this is a reputable company. I will tell you that, as I said in the memo, we went through an identical process about 2009 in my previous county, and our DSS people also selected Northwoods, and they were very pleased with the implementation and the operation of it over the last few years.
Mr. Mayor.
I was just going to reiterate what's been said, is that Johnson County in January of this year, because they might be looking at Northwoods or some other a software system, but they had to hire 35, they're gonna put on 35 extra employees to keep up with the scanning and all the information, because we're required to do that. So, and I can tell you that the state DSS knows my feelings as a commissioner and a board member of DSS, that the NC Fast system that was instituted by the state, they didn't finish the job. They didn't provide any software or any kind of backup system to help complete the job. The job is only partially finished. And so 35 counties so far, and I think maybe 36 by now, in North Carolina have elected to go with Northwoods. And we have, at our board meetings, we've had several counties that have shown us the savings that they have gained by going to Northwoods. They do have a great reputation, and you'll see that in the presentation. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, Ed, go ahead.
I just have a question of curiosity. You've used Johnston County as an example of someone who had to go way out into the weeds, 35 or 40 people. And I'm sure I'm in agreement. We need the new technology. But does anyone have an idea why Johnston County would have to hire so many folk, and we haven't heard that we need to hire that many? And is it that they got more? No, our people needy, or
what Debbie tried to do was more of it with overtime, and also we did have some part-time folks, but we've been able to get caught up on the NC Fast almost. But Bill's right, we still got some more to do, and then you've got the conversion time to go over to this. There's training involved. I think there's 5 different modules on this. So when the guy comes in, he's going to show you on paper a whole lot more savings than what I'm showing you. But what he has done is he's quantified the savings in staff time of of the hours saved. But that doesn't mean that all those hours are going to be reductions in personnel, because one of the things that Debbie stresses is we're spending an inordinate amount of time just enrolling the people instead of doing the social work that they're really supposed to be doing. So some of that savings, it's real, but it'll be used to divert the people back over, our employees back over to doing more of the social work functions. But even with that, we think in future years there still may be some additional staff savings. As far as Johnston County, Ed, can't, without talking to them, I really can't tell you why they're doing what they're doing.
Well, because our board members here, someone brought up that number, it was just a little red flag jumped up my head.
Yeah.
Why the difference, and what would cause it? Was it a population, or was it dollars that they got, or was something that was amiss that they would need that many more people? And although I know you say we're using part-time help, it's just raise the flag.
Yeah, I'll be glad to answer parts of that question. It's part of all of that. And some counties got so far behind on their applications for NC Fast that the federal government was threatening to take the dollars away and penalize them. So some counties decided to go with this Northwoods to try to cut time. Some decided to work overtime, and some decided to go out and hire new people. And I think hiring that many people in the long run is going to be more costly than it will to go and buy the technology to take care of it.
Mr. Mayor, the other thing is that I'm not sure in Johnston County's what they did, but here in Wayne County, we have, as far as scanning documents, we have spent over $1.2 million for outside consultants over the last few years for doing the scanning for us. Having said that, in the last 2 or 3 years, or correct me if I'm wrong, Bill, our caseload here in Wayne County has gone up 78%, is that correct?
I think that's right. So
we need to spend more time not scanning documents, but handling cases. And that's what this is all about. I don't know Johnson County's situation. They may not have hired anybody to scan for them like we have.
Is Debbie available to come over when we do this?
Yes,
Because
Okay.
she can answer a lot of these questions
she
better.
can. She can.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
And if you look at page 6, well, let me say this, I think 8:30, we're supposed to have Board of Equalization review, so I
Yes,
believe
sir.
we need to
So we-
pause this and go to that. But when we come back, I'd like to go over the financial part of it with you a little bit.
Do we want to do it in the briefing, or we want to do it during the regular meeting, or?
Either way you want to do it.
Perception.
I think let's do it in the regular meeting.
Yeah, just a quick comment. I'm waiting for the presentation because I have a little bit of a heartburn in regards to its cost, but I'll wait for the presentation.
Okay.
Okay, let's hold up on the rest of the agenda right now. We did have it posted at 8:30, the Wayne County Board of Equalization and Review. Alan, if you, I'll read this, right. Board of Equalization and Review, reconvene Board of Equalization, we're in session. Ask if anyone is here to appeal a value. Alan will give updates.
You don't count.
I don't count. No, I'm not going to.
Well, I was going to ask you.
I saw him looking.
You don't count.
Mr. Chairman, we received one more appeal since I talked to you last time. We now have 45 total parcels, 28 owners. We're working through those now. What we'll do, if anybody wishes to be heard, you can actually hear them as a Board of Commissioners at a later date. We actually, thanks to Mr. Daugherty's suggestion, we actually have an informational flyer now we're going to hand out to people, and it's on the website also, to try to sort of explain why we can and can't do what we do, because the law sort of ties our hands to a certain extent, so.
And half of those appeals went away, didn't they?
No. No, but I do appreciate the suggestion. Any little bit may help. Anything that helps would be great. So right now, Mr. Chairman, we don't have anything to come before you, and so we will actually adjourn the ENR, and
Okay.
then at a later date, you may have to hear somebody as a Board of Commissioners.
Do I have a motion we adjourn the Board of Equalization and Review?
So moved.
I have a motion on the floor. Any other discussion?
Are we adjourning it or recessing?
You're adjourning.
Adjourning it,
Yes, sir.
okay.
We have a motion on the floor. All in favor, show sign of right hand. Motion carries.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Al. Okay, back to new business, Mr. Wood.
Okay, let's see, I think we left off at the,
Number 2.
number 2. So we have the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners video for April, and Marshall will have that. It's about a, 7-minute. Then we have a motion to accept Wayne County Board of Education property and convey it to the University of Mount Olive. I believe you have the information in the packet, the agenda packet on page 89. The Board of Education has offered .409 acres located in the town of Mount Olive and previously used in connection with the ag program for the old Mount Olive High School. And if y'all remember, when we went down and toured that, they're turning that into an arts area, a performing music area. The Board of Education is requesting the Wayne County Board of Commissioners accept the property and convey it to the University of Mount Olive in consideration of the services rendered by the university to the Wayne County Public Schools without charge or compensation. And we gave you a list that they provided to us of what the college provides, or the university provides to them at no cost. So we think that's a reasonable exchange, and we're recommending that you approve that. Gordon, is there anything you want to add to that?
Just they want to know that you're willing to accept it, and they'll give you a deed, and once you get the deed and we get it recorded, then you would give notice that it was your intention to convey it to the university at no cost. And that would be a simple action that you would take.
Okay.
So we do something today or wait?
Today, you would say, you would tell the Board of Education that you will accept it.
Oh,
Yeah, we will, it's an action
If
item
that's,
today.
if that's what.
If we'll go into more detail in the regular meeting, if that's all right.
Okay.
Okay, move on.
Next thing is on page 89 is, is on page 95. It's a motion to approve budget amendment 419 and the application for North Carolina Education Lottery Public School Building Capital Fund for additional funds needed for Goldsboro High School renovations. I did not do a memo because I felt like Dr. McCullen's memo or letter here explained what they're doing. Basically, they've had a cost overrun on the bids there. They cut back some, but essentially what they're doing is a request for the remaining $325,756.52 be paid from the half-cent sales tax. And they also need to increase the lottery fund allocation by the amount of $126,814.48. As you know, we keep the sales tax money reserved for them in a fund here, but they request it from you. We also keep we don't keep the lottery funds. We keep up with how much they have. They actually have to request that to be drawn down from the state. And so that's why we have to fill out and request this application to draw that down. Pam, is there anything you want to add to that?
No, sir, I think you got it correct.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Darge.
I have some real issues here. And I know that I don't want to step on the school board, but my understanding on this bid, which was some $700,000 over, I have no idea why they just didn't rebid it. And that is going to be what I'm going to recommend, in that with Charles B. Aycock, they saved $1 million by simply rebidding it. Now, I don't know why they didn't get appropriate bids, but from my understanding, this cost on this will run $400 per square foot. It is outrageous. And I just don't understand why they just don't rebid it. I understand that we want to get these projects done quickly, but that's one. Number two, why would you dip into your sales tax and not use unspent dollars from the lottery? They were $700,000 under budget on Spring Creek Elementary, which were lottery dollars. All you do is take that $700, ask the Lottery Commission to use those funds here. So I just have a lot of issues on this, and I know I'm the bad guy a lot, but I just think it needs to be rebid. That would be the prudent thing to do.
Mr. Mayor.
Was there, is anybody gonna be here, by the way, from the Board of Education or anybody? I have a question as to.
We hadn't planned on it, but we can call over there and see.
Well, my question is that, was there a reason why the bid was up? In other words, did the scope change from what it was originally?
No, that's not my understanding. My understanding is the bids were just high.
Well, I'm looking at page 97 here, the cost sheet that says, Goldsboro High School Commons Addition. Is that a common area that's been added to?
No, that's the project.
That is the project. It's a common area.
Is there, huh?
It's a common area that they're constructing.
Yeah.
But, and that was basically, in other words, that is the project.
Mhm. Well, I didn't know if there was something added on this sheet that
No,
we're not
you'll
aware of.
notice they had alternates of 133,000. They cut that back to 23,000. So they saved about 110,000 there. Beyond that, I'm not seeing anything else that's a change.
Well, when we say commons, I mean, what does that consist of? I mean,
I'm not that familiar with this
That's where
project. This
all
is
the
just one of the
students
renovation projects.
Gathering for the students.
This is part of the $12.3 million that you authorized them to do 5 projects on.
Should have let Ed answer that.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Payne.
the bids that went out, did the board submit the bids, or did the architect do it, or who did that?
Well, it's the board who has to accept them. Well, I'm sure the architect sent out the bids because they would prepare the bid package, but the board, just like you do, the bids come back, the staff reviews them and makes a recommendation to the board.
Do we need to wait and discuss this in the regular meeting?
Yes.
That's what I would
think-
do.
Yeah,
I think that need to be waiting.
Now, I guess the question we need to know is, do y'all want someone from the school board over here?
I would like to have some.
I would too.
Can y'all get somebody here from there? Okay.
Well, I think that, I'm like Mr. Doherty, Mr. Mayor, I think we need to have someone here. I mean, they need to be here so they can defend themselves, because
Yeah.
I think there's gonna be some pretty straightforward questions asked.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, my.
Okay, the next item is page 102 in your packet. And this is a memo I've given you about some savings in the Register of Deeds office. Essentially, in talking with Lois, I became aware of possibility of saving some money in that operation. They currently buy shelving and print pages kept in large binders for all real estate transactions, deeds of trust, and things like that. Those records are all scanned and are searchable in our computer system available to the general public. Consequently, most people use the computer and rarely use the books. Electronic copies are also sent to the North Carolina Archives Division and to our software vendor, COT Systems. So there are multiple backups of this if something should happen to our computer system. According to the Register of Deeds, the shelving unit can handle about 96 books, each of which contain 900 pages. The shelving unit is filled about every 14 months at the current usage rate. If we kept the existing books, and we're not recommending you do away with them, you just stop doing any more books. But we did away with preparing and filing hard copies of all future real estate transactions, we could save the following every 14 months. And again, I show you those savings. The $34.50 is the shelving unit, $6,750 is 96 books at $70 per book. $3,250 for page printing and hole punching, that's 900 pages per book. So that's a total of $13,420 every 14 months. So then I simply divided that by 14 and multiplied by 12, and that gives you $11,503 saved on an annualized basis every 12 months. She had also done a survey, and 2/3 of the counties in North Carolina have discontinued printing hard copies of these records, so it's not like we would be doing something different from the majority of the counties. And they only use the electronic records available to the general public. Obviously, it's more cost-effective and quicker for the researchers to find what they're looking for. I recommend that you approve a motion to authorize and encourage the Register of Deeds to discontinue printing hard copies of real estate records in order to generate these savings. And again, she's an elected official, so I think you can authorize it and encourage her to do it, but ultimately the decision is hers to make. And she wants to make it. She wants to do it.
Okay.
Any questions on that?
Sure.
Mr. Mayor.
I have a
Plus, am I correct, we was also save record storage space.
Well, that's
We got-
right. I
We
mean,
got a
her
problem
office,
in Wayne County with storage space for storing all the records we have.
that's right.
Well, it's gonna eliminate the need for further storage. I mean, if we
Yeah.
go to this, she's gonna be able to hold where she's at, but
That's
if we
right.
keep going the old way like we are, at some point, her room, the space is gonna run out.
That's right. And remember, she'll still have births and deaths and wills
Some of it
and
still
things
has to
like
be
that.
on paper.
Yeah.
But it will cut down on the space we eat up every year in doing this.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Bell?
I want to change this, well, we're still talking about register of deed, but the thing that I don't understand is that we are a collecting agency for the state. Just about all the monies that we collect down there goes to the state. We provide the space, we provide the staff, we provide everything, and the state get the money. Why is that?
Because they vote on it.
Because you're an administrative subdivision of the state of North Carolina.
It's the world we live in.
It's the world we live in. Seriously, John, that's the answer. We're an administrative subdivision of the state, and on a lot of programs, we do all the work, we collect the money, and they get it. You're 100% right.
And they send that money back to us.
I missed that part, Ed.
I really did that for Ed's benefit. He talk about fees all the time, so.
Thank you, John. I wasn't gonna get on fees today, but, you don't rouse me up, cause I'm gonna catch up right on.
Okay, let's go on to the budget amendments.
Okay, Pam,
Y'all
Is
want
it-
to go over your budget?
you want to go over them now or later?
No, it's a regular meeting.
Well, with that, that's pretty much the agenda then.
Okay, and then at 10 o'clock, we got the public comment section, limited to 4 minutes. Then we have the county manager's report and comments, and the board of commissioners comments. And we are going to go into closed session, and we normally do it now, but we don't have time. We got 9 minutes before the regular meeting starts, so we just have to work into closed session.
Right.
before that.
And Mr. Chairman, I may not have said it, but the wet wells at Spring Creek and Grantham, we need to add under new business, so that would be number 7 there.
Consent,
No, that's under new business.
Yes, sir.
under new business.
Unless y'all want to put it under consent.
No.
Mr. Chairman, I do have one matter that I'd like us to try to address today if possible. And that is that years back, we changed the way we were accepting budget amendments to where each budget amendment was coming before this entire board, every budget amendment. And I'd like us to ask council if he could draft us up a motion that would change that to where those budget amendments dealing with grants or dealing with specific items that we can put on a consent agenda, that it'd be in the package for everybody to see, but we would not have to individually bring those matters up, to streamline our process. I know that grants would be one item. We are constantly, it seems like every meeting, we're having concealed weapons and fingerprint fees. So I'm not exactly how you would phrase that, but in some way to streamline that we don't have to go through all of those budget amendments.
Mr. Parker, you want to say something?
Well, are you talking about having everything that doesn't require money from new money in a budget?
Well, no, we would like to actually see, as an example, there's a budget amendment in here where we're transferring dollars from vehicles over to a cardiac.
Yeah, there's no extra money involved.
There's no money, but we would, certainly like to have that. I'm kind of discussing it, asking for some input from our fellow commissioners here, but.
Can I legally say amen to that?
And it may be that if we put it in the consent agenda, if there's any item that any commissioner sees,
You can always
you
bring it
just
down.
pull that particular one out for further discussion.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I reckon even going so far as to say, as long as it's not new money.
George and Pam and I work on that and bring it to you at your next meeting.
That'll be fine at our next meeting. That'd be great. Can we do that at our next meeting?
Mr. Chair, I just want to mention, if we do that, that means that we will not know when there's a shift in a line item. We won't know that.
Well, no, you'll get it. You'll get
It'll be on the
it.
consent agenda.
It'll be under the consent agenda in the packet. You'll see everything you're seeing now.
Right, but sometimes we do have questions of whether.
Then you can
You
pull
can
it
ask
out.
You can pull one out.
All right, okay, got it.
So in other words, those items would actually be in the consent agenda, that'll be in the package, it'll be for the press and everyone to see, and if there's questions that any commissioner has, you can just pull that particular one out and have further discussion.
Okay, got it.
Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, thank you. So you'll draft something up for our next meeting. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I just received an email from Ms. Goldsboro. She is sick and will not be able to attend the meeting today.
Okay.
But we will try to reschedule her as soon as possible.
Okay.
Gives me more time for questions.
And I really, try to reschedule it because, I had the pleasure of sitting down and talking with her. It was supposed to be a 10 or 15-minute talk, we ended up talking about an hour. That's a dynamic young lady. She's got a story to tell. And anyone else have anything? If not, let's take about a 5-minute break. We're 5 minutes to 9, and we're supposed to start our meeting at 9 o'clock. It's a little after 9 o'clock, excuse me. Time to conduct the business of the Wayne County Board of 20. Please put it off.
Morning to introduce our guest pastor. Our guest is Reverend Charles A., better known as Chuck. Chuck was born and raised in Fayetteville, North Carolina, 1975, and he was an air force here and got called. Pastor Gentry been for 30, currently is at the Charleston. When I first met, the county got into the airport business, and I met as well. Been piloting about 10 and helping us. Chuck, well, please.
Today, and then she had the cap. I want to thank you to be here with over the business. Our Father, pray, thank you of us, Jesus, that you are at peace and your power over the decisions that they make. Ask you, Father, to bless them, help them to make guide. We thank you for fine service, as well as that. Now, Lord, we need to, Father, that you in the middle. Amen.
Amen.
Nation under justice for all. Below the minutes for the April 7th, 2015 meeting.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion on the floor. We approve the minutes for April the 7th. Any discussion? Discussion, all in favor, show sign of right hand. Motion. Discussion on the agenda, Mr. Wood.
To add business, approval of wet rule and grant them. And condition, we need to take number 2.
Adjustments. Presentation of Wayne County. We need to-
Solid Waste, Brown with Wayne Ivy, Joshua Leggett with the Sheriff's Office, Christy Mason with the Health Department, Erica Strawn with Social Services, our office, Remarco Atkins' office, Ward Brown with Wayne Nett, Medical Service, Herrera, Green, Adam Keener, Human Medical Services, Social of our 5-year with Department. Hamilton, Emergency Medicine. Jeffrey Hood with the Sheriff's Office. Billy Rives, Emergency Services. Dale Chandler with Serving. Garner with Emergency Service. We have Vicki Service. And I can.
Somebody take them up.
Early.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to recommend Trish to the Mountain. I'd like to put that in the form of a
Discussion. Mr. Gurley's right here. Thank you, Mr. Gurley. Public hearings, Mr. Wood, if you leave.
Orvik to rezone a lot in Brogdon Township. Call on you. Go ahead.
Chairman, request is Orvik to rezone approximately 28 square feet in the Brogdon from residential agricultural 20, RA 20 to Village District. The property is owned by Mr. Jorvig and is located at S13 and 583. S13 is the east by apartments. By the east and south is access mile buffer beyond the Johnson's noted. Planning board approved.
Jill, or any comments to
Mr. Chairman, I ship my iPad we look for over Chris for tune-up. I wasn't aware that somebody was had concerns about it in that area, so I'll probably be voting against the recommendation.
Yeah, Mr. Bale.
Yeah, I am about email concerning that track. Go before the planning, before they.
The go notice requirement to its own. Mr. But the email is Wesley, no? He just says.
Well, one, the arrival of that to this, and it was to get the folk who had any problem to be able to come to this site and voice the, and that would be. I didn't see that, but you posted everything. Have any
That's on San Hicks.
near to it? Oh,
Or she was, well, she knows with property. And what we do is we put a property, which is more than only the adjoining neighbors, but 100 feet, a little always done that to notify these that are, so they did, but sure, the site, it was there prior, for more than 100, already. So it had something that's still there in their facility.
Is there anybody, sir? Okay, is what he has to say?
Right now. You would come up to the microphone, please.
I mean, mine's located exactly, I'm not a big, not the property values in it, so I don't know.
and your property is right to it.
And I own the 2 lots.
Generally been my experience that works from use for properties. That's generally the
type
case.
of business.
Well, from my understanding, it's an office that they are required, that they're, I just been commercial property.
That's commercial property if there's a commercial reason for that property increasing in value. If you have a home and all of a sudden there's X number of vehicles that's being worked on or parked outside or not in some enclosure, and I'm just sort of backing up as to what my experience has been. We have to be careful about something going in next to someone else's property because you don't know how it's going to fully develop. In some situations around the county, folk have to put up a variety of fences to make sure that it does not, the site of it does not impede on another person's property. And back at the planning board, the reason for it getting to this station was to give folk like yourself an opportunity to come and voice what your opposition or displeasure would be with such a site, and hopefully to gain more information about what the long-term effect would be on a neighborhood. So we are at I think we're at a place of I am at a place of some concern about how it's going to affect the neighborhood. And Mr. Daugherty, I understand what you broadly mean about commercial property, but everything that's commercial is not going to benefit a resident living next door to it. So that was my concern earlier, and it's still my concern, Mr.
A quick comment. Keep in mind now, just because the planning board sent this to us, the planning board has not had the authority to make or change laws. All they do is review things and make recommendations to us according to what the statutes read. So that's not saying that we've got to vote for this.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Bell.
I'm just gonna make a brief comment. I have never seen a car lot that I would want to live next door to. I'm just talking about my personal. I mean, there's always a whole bunch of cars sitting around, and when they fix them, people don't come and pick them up. So I think we should table this until we check it out a little bit and do a little bit more investigation on it to find out whether or not we want to approve it or not.
Mr. Mayor.
You're just having a public hearing today, you don't
Oh,
have to
that's
vote
okay.
on it.
We don't have to act on anything today.
Thank you.
Okay, no problem.
Was I understanding at 8 o'clock that there's some other businesses around this area? Chip?
There's an apartment complex just to the east of it. And then there are some mini storages right down the road. Also, I think there's also some mini storage units on that apartment complex site as well.
Yeah.
It's kind of a big expense.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Pate.
I just, I'm kind of like the rest of the guys. I'm not sure I want to vote on this today. The gentleman that wants to do this, I'd like to hear from him and see what he's going to build. So he's gonna put fencing or a berm, or what is he gonna do to protect the neighborhood?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd just like to know that.
Would that be a requirement, is my other question?
A landscaping buffer would be required.
Yeah.
Okay, or fencing? I've seen some not be see-through fencing.
Landscaping.
Okay, all right, but that would be part of the, okay.
Is the gentleman here today that is requesting this? Yes, sir. Do you have any comments? Feel free to come forward.
I was just basically gonna put up a shop that, I don't plan on having a junkyard there. It's just a small place to work on cars, and like I said, I had my car lot there. And I really don't wanna go full-time in the car lot, but I just want a place to get stuff inside and work on it, instead of having stuff out in the yard and stuff like that. Pretty much what it's gonna be.
So you're already using the property for,
My car lot was there.
was there?
Well, it's still there. I mean, I just quit and went overseas and worked for a while. So.
Oh, okay.
Do you own the lot?
Yes.
You have vehicles there now on a used car?
I've got a couple I've repoed that are still sitting there, but I gotta get rid of them one of these first days. And I was gonna tear that trailer down or move it out or whatever, the office trailer, and build a nice looking building there.
So at some point in time, you got the approval from the planning board and the commissioners to have a car lot?
Yes, and before that, there was a beauty shop there for years.
So there was already a business there
Prior to the zone.
prior to the zoning?
Yes.
Okay.
A sales lot. A sales lot.
Yes.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Doherty, sorry.
I have a great deal of concern if a gentleman owns a piece of property, has operated it as, for some business, on a major artery, so US 13, which everyone knows on a major artery, at some point, with the traffic counts, it will eventually turn to a commercial use because of the traffic counts. The gentleman owns the property, he has used the property for commercial. Zoning came in and changed things and has now limited his use, in essence, to where he has to be here. If it wasn't zoned, he would have already built this garage. Now we are basically saying that we want to restrict his use, and this is the very reason why people get upset with government. It is. So I suppose I'll be the lone voice here of stating that we should not in any way impede the gentleman's use of his own property. We do have safeguards for the neighborhood by requiring him to put in a buffer, a landscape buffer, am I correct? So we've got a recommendation from the planning board that has looked at this. And Mr. Chairman, I'm going to go ahead, I'm sorry, I can't, we're in a public meeting, on a public hearing. Never mind, go ahead. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. You have any other comments, sir?
I think that does it.
Thank you for being here.
I got one. Before, do you mind sharing your telephone number with me, please?
Yeah, I'll give him my cell phone.
That'd be fine.
920-8800.
Okay, thank you.
May I ask one question? The gentleman is, came up. How long have you lived at your site, resident?
I moved there September 26, 1986.
1986.
I've been there almost 30 years. Next year will be 30 years.
Thank you.
But we do not have to act on this today, correct?
That is correct. That is correct.
Does anyone else have any comments for this public hearing?
Yes, I do, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Mayor.
Is there, there's not a time restraint on this, is that correct? It's not based on anything that needs to happen right now? Is there a time restraint?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, so I just recommend that we look at it at our next meeting then.
Well, Mr. Bell's already made a motion to table it until
Yeah,
further meeting.
I agree with that.
Could I have an inquiry of council? is it my understanding that if a vote is taken and it not be unanimous, it has to be voted on again?
Yes, sir.
Is that correct?
If it's taken today.
If a vote is taken today and is not unanimous, then it would have to in fact be voted on again.
That is correct, unless
So-
it's defeated.
So if we postpone till the following meeting, which will be the first meeting in May, and it is not a unanimous vote, then it's gonna be postponed for another 2 weeks. And so, I'd like to see whether or not we could at least get a majority vote to move forward and then review this. I just hate to keep delaying this, is what I'm saying. We're asking the property owner to wait an additional month. And I hate to see that.
That's,
But I will go with the majority of the
You
board.
got two property owners here.
Right. Do what?
There's two property owners here.
That's correct, that is.
and a email from the
And
third one.
and another person.
Sure. Mr. Mayor.
Let's wait.
I guess the question, the reason that I'm for waiting is that, is there enough concern that we do need to wait 2 weeks? Do we need to wait? If they've been answered, I think we need to move on to today, but if not, let's wait till the next meeting.
And that and I'm going to go ahead and vote for Commissioner Bell's motion to table it. But I do have a question, since the gentleman is here on the adjoining property owner, if I could ask you, do you feel like your concerns that you may have would be resolved by having a landscape buffer between your property and this property?
I guess my response to that question is this: I don't know what type or kinds of people will be coming and leaving their cars and coming back to retrieve those cars. I have a family there, and that's important to me. It may not be important to you at home. Now, if I was going into a commercial area, then you can expect any kind or any type of individual to come there. But when you go into a residential area, I think there's a difference.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you,
Mr. Mayor.
So, sir, are you thinking that there's gonna be a difference between a garage being there and a used car lot? I would think that the same patrons that come and purchase a vehicle may get their repairs done.
There's a possibility, but I beg to differ in that if a person is coming to buy a car, more than likely, if he or she does not like what they see, they're gonna leave immediately. Someone who's come prepared, I don't know those people, and you don't either.
I guess the question, does the property owner use their I recommend the bills.
The motion on the
Close the public hearing.
close the public hearing. Anyone else have any comments? If not, do I have a motion to go out of?
It is closed.
Closed.
Unless there is, you do not, if you don't take any action, you don't take any action. And it would be-
Vote on just,
You don't have to table it unless there is in May. That's when the motion to table would be appropriate.
Right. So we don't have.
we don't have to do.
Unless some-
Well,
However, it says, if a motion is made, defeated, then that is correct. Okay, no motion's gonna be made then. No, we're not gonna do anything.
No,
We're
we're not
moving
gonna-
on to the next public hearing.
Okay.
We're just not gonna take
Okay. Number 2,
The next public rezoning request from Glenquity, from a approximately 1.5 acre lot from Village District. The property is located on the north side of South US 13 between SR 1126 Loop Road and SR 1006 Falling Creek Church Road. Property is bordered south US 13 is bordered on the north by a house, child daycare. It is in a zoning area and grant all sides by the
open. Commissioners.
Mr. Chairman. I think that to in regards to on what basis rezoning property, great concerned about the use, but is concerned about the individual here at that property. have no control over who private, whether or not, or what. We have items and should not have any charge to whether or not you rezone an individual's property or not. I can understand point of business. I'm just somewhat that look at rezoning, and here, this property here for a commercial enterprise, I believe a Family Dollar or something like that is going there. Is that correct? You have no go to the family, how long or whatever, in there. This is the neighborhood, and there is no opposition here that I can see. I don't see any difference in this property and the other discussed. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chairman.
Well,
Mr.
go ahead.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
I think the difference is that the position here, and I think that we could do the same thing with it. It's the only reason that I feel like anyone 2 weeks, come up with any did not previous property owner same rights. Since they doubt, then that 2 weeks is not going to make a difference unless somebody comes up with something a lot more than what I heard about their previous. I don't know what it's that, and they opposed property out in this 2 weeks, same as for this property owner, diligence.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to put one caveat. One of I ran an auto shop. Being a mind reader, I finished to about the client. What he said was if someone was coming to buy a car, they would make the decision whether they wanted to buy that car or not. Personal experience of any kind. Saw their car, and that was it. Running a very shop times because of something went wrong. So mind reading what that might come. It would be when you're talking about repairing vehicles and something and driving. Dealing with repairing a vehicle, there cause there to be a discussion between who it is. So I just want and one 1967 beautiful car. Remember that the car came in, it cracked windshield. That following Monday she picked up on Friday, broken her. Man, it was like that. No, she was noticed it. There was so many other things wrong. God on me because she thought I had broken her windshield. I just think when you're dealing with, I just want us to be as to what.
Gentlemen, we're getting already to the hearing. We need to deal.
I appreciate delay it, but I want.
We need to deal on this public hearing. Any other
support what you can. Want to make sure that any rezoning there's the proper berms that protect the neighborhood. Yeah, it's a record. I've never heard anybody holding up a auto shop. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Really haven't.
But I won't.
You can make well, comments. This public hearing is.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to
request. We just had the public hearing. Any other? No other discussion. Item carries unanimous. Thank you, Chip. Mr.
All we have a hearing, this is to notify people, project, community development block grant, and
just the county received 2011 for scattered site housing assistance. Have completed that project of housing for 3 families scattered throughout the county. Of the $400,000 received, we spent $300 designated, and we were trying to qualify and meet some requirements to receive this, and those people were terminated with having the 3 completed and the remaining funds deobligated. And I would also like to mention because the county is a recipient of federal, the county has encouraging fair housing activities throughout the county. The county practices the things that are done each quarter. There's another item later in the agenda where you'll approve a plan that we actually carry some of those activities out. And each time we have a public hearing, we remind the public of that fact, since the county is a recipient of those funds and also participates in housing activities the same way that banks and realtors do. Glad to answer any questions.
Any questions? Mr. Kamari?
I hope that this question I asked him is kind of related to something that appeared before me from a public person. I think in some early discussion, there was a $90,000 figure that was left over from another project.
Well, actually from this one.
Okay, from that one. And the reason that I asked that question is I was approached in the community by a person who was concerned about the Love Drive project. And the question asked to me was, why was it taken to a certain point and not finished? And we talked on telephone, but I would like to ask this question as a public venue, to shed, if you would, shed some light on the Love Drive project and the possibility of being able to use funds not exhausted in one area to maybe assist in another area where the dollar did not match what the need was.
Okay. The 90,000 that will be deobligated here could not be used for the Love Drive project. It's the way the categories of funding are set up. This is specifically for housing. It could be used for street or drainage or water improvements. But in terms of Love Drive project, after the conversation, we're approaching the end of that, and there'll be a public hearing soon to close that project out. But it's nice that it's been brought up, something the board can think about. We literally, because we received a grant that wasn't as large as we had requested initially, we're only able to do about half the street. The people at the end of Love Drive would like to have the rest of it paved. We are going to have funds left over in that project, but we're going to be about $40,000 short in order to get to the end of the street. And I just want to point out, usually what we can do is request from the state permission to extend water and road improvements until the money runs out, where there's a problem. We can't just extend it until the money runs out unless there is a low-income family within it. We've got some vacant land between where we are now and the end. So it's either you go to the end of the street or not at all. Now, one of the things the county can do is request supplemental funding from categories that do allow street drainage and water improvements to be added to that project. And also there'd be an extension required in the project in order to accomplish that work, obviously, because that would take to the end of the year probably with all the requirements that have to be met. But it is something that you could do, but in terms of this funding is housing specific, wouldn't overlap, couldn't transfer it, couldn't use it for that. But the county does have an option to make a request for additional supplemental funding. The state has approved that in the past, but it's it depends on the philosophy at the time when the request is made as to how they receive it.
Thank you very much for that explanation, because I hope the persons that requested this information from me will look at this broadcast and understand the explanation that you gave. And Mr. Wood, just to get into the weeds, if there's some way that we could do something, and I'm leaving that up to your knowledge and so forth about that Love Drive situation. And,
well, we can look at the supplemental.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? If not, this public hearing.
Need to ask if the public has anything to say.
Does the public have anyone to say, any comments to make on this public hearing? If not, this public hearing is closed. Unfinished business, Mr. Wood?
Yes. Mr. Chairman, I was going to ask if we could bump up the conversation. I believe y'all asked Dr. McCullen to come. She's here now, so in the interest of...
Can we do it in 6 minutes? Because we've got public comment at 10 o'clock.
We have a public hearing at 10. Do you want me to go through a couple of these then?
Let's get the public hearing.
Okay.
The public comment section out of the way. Thank you for your patience, Dr. McCullen.
All right, unfinished business. We have a motion to approve the quitclaim deed and authorize the Wayne County Memorial Association to have a curb cut connecting to the Jeffries Building parking lot. We discussed this at the last meeting. Borden has everything ready for that. I don't believe there's any thing else we need to discuss on that. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions?
But I'm prepared to make the motion that we go forward with this, which I just did.
Okay. Is that in the form of a motion?
Yes, sir, it is.
I have a motion on the floor that we move forward with this project. Any discussion? Not, of course, the pleasure of the board. All in favor show sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous. Let's go ahead and take care of the consent agenda.
Okay. We have all 6 things listed. Does anybody have any questions on any of those items?
Just Mr. Chairman, if I could just make a quick comment in regards to the resolution in support of the North Carolina Division of Marine Fisheries, use of supplemental process to implement reductions on southern flounder. Many of us, in fact, there are thousands of Wayne County citizens that go to the coast and attempt to partake of catching a flounder every now and then. And over the years, I think many of us can remember going to the coast and catching huge croakers. And those are no longer there. And now, I mean, you might as well go into the fish store and buy you some fish because it's rather difficult. And that is a result of some overfishing that's taking place. And this resolution, which by the way is also being supported by our surrounding counties, are basically asking that the North Carolina Marine Fisheries address that issue. So I appreciate it being on consent agenda. And with that said, Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor. Mr. Chairman, I would like to have someone read the Day of Prayer proclamation for Wayne County, if it's okay with the board. And secondly, I agree with Mr. Commissioner Daughter on the marine fisheries. I've been fishing the coastal waters over 25 years around Swansboro, Emerald area, and you cannot catch a croaker on the south side that's other than a pan croaker. You know what a pan croaker is? Just small enough, about like a minnow, to put in the pan. From Sneeze Ferry to Moorhead, because of the net fishing that's going on. I'm not for putting commercial fishermen out of business. What I am for is to save the species that are endangered, which Virginia has done and South Carolina has done. I have a picture, by the way, on my phone from a friend from Virginia. There was a citation croaker caught in Virginia yesterday, and it's approaching 4 pounds. I got a picture of it.
I saw that.
Okay, so
kind of drooled over it.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, other neighbor states have addressed these issues to include everyone. Commercial fishermen can make a living without making our species extinct. So I am definitely for not putting commercial people out of business, but doing some regulating to get our species and fish back up to the quantities necessary. Virginia, for example, started their renourishment program over 30 years ago, because I was there at that time. So we need to start now to take steps to protect our fishing environment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for your comments. I will read the resolution of the National Day of Prayer.
Thank you.
Whereas May the 7th, 2015 is the 64th annual observance of the National Day of Prayer. And whereas the Continental Congress in 1775 asked the colonies to pray for wisdom in forming a nation. And whereas in 1864, President Abraham Lincoln proclaimed a day of fasting and prayer. And whereas in 1952, President Harry Truman signed a joint resolution by the United States Congress declaring an annual National Day of Prayer. And whereas in 1988, President Ronald Reagan signed a amended law permanently setting the National Day of Prayer at the first Thursday of each May. And whereas in 1988, the United States Congress passed a law directing the President to issue a proclamation each year designating the first Thursday in May as National Day of Prayer, on which the people in the country may turn to God in prayer and meditation in churches and groups and individuals. And whereas the citizens of Wayne County will come together to support a community prayer service at 7 p.m. at Family Y in Goldsboro to enable citizens in Wayne County and others to recall and teach the way in which our founding fathers sought the wisdom of God when faced with critical decisions, and whereas the theme of this year is Lord, hear our cry, and whereas the Wayne County Board of Commissioners believes prayer is important to our nation and community. At this time, it was in the 1700s, as it was in the 1700s. Whereas those participating in the National Day of Prayer will pray for government, the churches, the brave men and women serving in our armed services, families, education, media, business, and economy. Now therefore be it resolved that the Wayne County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim May 7th, 2015 as a day of prayer in Wayne County. And the Wayne County Board of Commissioners urges the citizens of Wayne County to unite at 7 p.m. at the Family Y in Goldsboro and pray. Adopted this day, the 21st day of April 2015. George Wayne Aycock, Jr., Chairman. Okay, anything else on the consent agenda? If not, what's the pleasure of the board on the consent agenda?
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Already moved.
You up? Okay,
you
all
already
right. We already have a motion on the floor.
Okay.
Any other discussion? No other discussion? All in favor, show sign of right hand. Motion carries. Okay, it is 10 o'clock. Let's have our public comment section. Anyone that have any public comments to make, please come forward, state your name and address, and you're allowed 4 minutes. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Constance Coram. My telephone number is 919-583-0959. As in last meeting, I wish to join the band of commending this commission for the unity shown as a board, and it is an asset to this county to see our Republicans and our Democrats working together to make this county bona fide and show unity. But I stand before you today to employ you to we have an issue in our community, and it's the coal ash issue. I trust that there are other people here that will also speak on this issue, but we need to really pay attention to this issue. This coal is causing detriment throughout our community. It cannot stay in its proper location. The exposure to the toxins are unsafe at levels that we just don't even know right now. I am aware that some of you have attended a previous meeting with regard to the coal ash. I implore you to return again this evening, as well as members of this community. This is a very, very detrimental issue, and I believe we have got to do something. I'd like to see it become a part of the agenda of this board to let the community know that you are, in effect, trying to do something to rectify this issue, and that that the community will not be imposed a tax. This was not the community's problem. This was a problem of a big company, Duke Energy. And I think that there should be some way that you all get together and work out a way to direct this problem. Please come out this evening at 7 p.m. at Tehillah Church on Beach Street. It is Tehillah Church Ministries, 1700 East Beach Street, Goldsboro. This issue cannot be ignored. I thank you very much for your time.
Mr. Chairman, I have on my notes that it's at 6:30 tonight.
You are so right. According to this flyer, some flyers had 7 o'clock, but this flyer does have 6:30,
Okay.
and I thank you for that
Okay.
correction, because it's very important that the community comes out and learns more about what is happening, and we would love to see your faces.
And thank you, and we have several meetings tonight, but we will have a representative there, correct?
Yeah.
Mr. Gurley will be there tonight.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? Whole lot of trees there, Mr. Drew.
I got my note.
see that.
The same thing.
Here they are, right? Yeah, the clock's running there.
Well, I've already got that.
You see, you already got, there's more to it. These 4 minutes are akin to the News Argus giving the reporter 4 words to address the matters of concern here today. As addressed before the Board of Education, this career and work ready program, awards and such, being that the state of education and democracy is a threat to national and international security, as far as career ready for civil and military peace officers, they're not prepared. When they're swearing to uphold and defend that which they do not comprehend, that's the most significant concern. Matter of the internet, and a quick comment on the tragedy at WCC just a little over a week ago. Though it may have took place on the property of WCC, researching the roots of what could be the problem, to explore the causes and the creative and constructive solutions, one academic route that can be realized leading to the matter is the internet. The internet should be the icing on the cake of public address for advancing education and democracy. The matters of censorship are significant to be addressed. We got cyber terrorism or worldwide terrorism. I joined classmates.com, had a profile. It has one section, your story, what you've done in your life. I never put nothing there, but I happened to check it, expecting to be blank, and lo and behold, there's a bunch of words attributed to me. Somebody hacked in there. I ended up at Facebook. I want to take care of problems at Classmates first, but I was at Facebook, got a profile there. Hadn't checked it in a couple of months. On my profile with my name with some derogatory words against another race. At both places, I did not delete, but I did put a post, significantly there, put a post above saying those are not my words. I don't know how, when, where, and why they got there. These are matters I research. So you got to verify anything you get on Facebook or Classmates, among others. ECU, too big to fail. That's what I was addressing the Board of Education time out. Understood a month or so back, major problem with the Brody School of Medicine and Heart Institute may be being closed. I have come to understand, it's not verified, that the state may have bailed them out since then. ECU and WCC are suffering from the same affliction that Penn State and quite a few other colleges and universities are suffering from, the lack of oversight. Censorship of innovative ideas that could keep their boats afloat and put wings in their sails. 1 minute. What I didn't give last week, I've given it before, the question about the heart that I sought to advance to Paul Cunningham, Dean of the Brody School of Medicine and Heart Institute, that was censored. Innovative ideas. Researching at ECU, the lack of an ombudsman that they once had. Been researching who initiated it, how it was established, and why it was de-established. An ombudsman is an innovative idea for conflict resolution needed at any academic setting.
Thank you, Mr. Drew. Your time's up. Thank you for your comments. Anyone else have any comments for the public comment section? If not, the public comments are closed. Mr. Wood, you want to take up item number 4 under new business?
Yes, sir. This is the motion to approve Budget Amendment 419 and an application for North Carolina Education Lottery Public School Building Capital Fund for additional funds needed for Goldsboro High School renovations. Y'all had asked that we ask Dr. McCullen to come over and discuss this matter with you. She's here as well as the finance director, so this time I'm going to turn it over to Dr. McCullen.
Thank you, Mr. Woods. Chairman Aycock, board members, Attorney Parker, and others. On your agenda today, we are here with a request to make application for the North Carolina Lottery funds for our Goldsboro High School project. You have the information in your packet, and we're here to answer any questions that you might have. At our last meeting, our board did vote to come over and to ask you to approve this amendment.
Any questions for Mr. Doherty?
Do you have a cost per square foot on this project?
I didn't bring those notes over, but it's somewhere in the area with the renovations, the restrictions that we took out, around 300, what was it, 384? 300, maybe around $384 per square foot.
And I think we'll all agree that's kind of high. I suppose my question is, why wouldn't we just rebid it like we did Charles B. Aycock? I mean, I think you all did a great job in regards to rebidding Charles B. Aycock, and I think it came in close to $1 million under.
What your question was discussed at length with our Board of Education, and they looked at all options. And, you know, there was lots of concern about could it be rebid, what the cost would be if we did that. But that was saying that you don't really know. So in the long run, with the discussion, our board voted to bring it over to you to ask for approval. They were given several options, and this is the one they chose.
And if I could just ask one more question, and that is, my understanding is that at the Spring Creek Elementary, that you all were $700,000 under budget. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Great job. I mean, just fantastic. And those dollars were allocated, I believe, from lottery funds. Is that correct? Why wouldn't you just take the dollars from the lottery funds on that project and ask that they be redirected over to Central?
We have some other items, contingency items that are needed there. Ms. Boltonhouse, you might want to tell them what we've been talking about that are for paving.
Repaving the parking lot and some of the furnishings that we will use most of those funds. That was just for the construction, the amount of overage.
So the 700 that was there isn't going back into the pot. You all are allocating it for other needs.
That's correct. Not the entire amount, but a good amount.
There will be like 300,000 at the current projections of the different items.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Pate.
I'll go first.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Can you describe this commons area and its purpose? You know, and the reason I'm asking that is I had the opportunity to go to Goldsboro High School a couple weeks ago for the senior projects at the School of Engineering. It looks like, you know, perhaps that money might be directed to preparing the buildings. If I do, looked to me like there was some work needed to be done in there. But if this is, you know, critical to the mission, by all means, let's move forward with it.
The Commons Area project has been on the facilities plan for quite a while, and this is one of the last projects. As you know, we have Spring Creek Middle, Grantham, Charles B. Aycock, Spring Creek Elementary, and then the Goldsboro High School Commons area was on the facilities plan. It is an area near the cafeteria, if you know where we're talking about. When you look at the school to the right, and there's where students have an area where they congregate sometimes. Also, it would put a shell over that area outside and by the cafeteria. It has bathrooms and so forth. So it is not a real big project, but it's what was in the plans for many years.
So Beth, I'm sorry, yeah. Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor.
Oh, no, go.
It's not deciding, the Board of Education deciding not to rebid this project. Is this because time is of the essence, or, you know, $380 a square foot is, to me, is way out from what other areas that we've seen in the county. I don't understand it can't cost but so much to go out for bids again. And I'm leaning toward the idea of going out for bids unless time is of the essence. Is that the case?
That was what our board discussed, and they want to see the project get started for the Goldsboro High School community, and thinking that time is of essence. And that's what our board thought when they voted for this. Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
I think my question was asked.
You got something? Well, I didn't get into the weeds on this, but the common area, is this a structure, a building?
Yes, sir.
Heating and air?
Yes.
And
The bathrooms.
It's got
Yes,
bathrooms?
So major bathrooms, yes, sir.
So is it can you describe what we're speaking of here? I mean, it's not a classroom, it's a common area. How would you describe a common area?
Well, we didn't bring the maps, I'm sorry, I have to get those, and I can get those and show you what it looks like, but that's just what it's called. You know, it's around the cafeteria for the students to have areas to congregate. They're outside right now in the rain, and there's nowhere for them to go.
Dr. McCullough, is
Yes.
it going to benefit the Goldsboro High School and the School of Engineering probably equally?
Yes, it will, because all the students there, eat lunch in that area, in the cafeteria for both schools. It's also where the buses are picked, the buses are on that side of the campus, and the students are picked up there by the buses. So it'll be an area for them to be in when it's raining.
Could it be used for anything other than just an assembly area? I mean, is it going to be large enough that if they needed to use it for something else? I mean,
Yes, sir, it will be.
I just have a real issue of not trying to limit our costs by going back to rebid. I mean, a rebid process, and maybe I'm wrong here, but a rebid process, we're talking about 30, 45 days?
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, I think the last one that y'all did, and it may be the reasoning, do you have a date specific when construction must start in this RFQ, or are you requiring a contractor to begin construction almost immediately?
We had to give the low bidder an answer, and that was why we were trying to get it moved, because we did have to give the low bidder an answer. That's
I
correct.
understand, but in in the scope of the project, are they to begin construction immediately, or?
As soon as you approve this, yes, sir. If not, it will be, the timeline will have to be pushed back by at least 3, 4, 5, 6 months. Yes.
I get a lot of heat for going places that others may not want to tread, but again, I just feel like it would be the best course of action to ask that the board go back and rebid this process to ensure that we're getting the best price for the project. And Mr. Chairman, I put that in a form of a motion.
And just to give you some more background, our facilities committee discussed this at length, just like you're doing today, as did our school board. And again, we're bringing this request to you at the request of our school board.
I understand. And I know that your board was divided on this as well, but I would just ask and put that in a form of motion that we request that they go back out for bids one more time to try to minimize this cost.
before we act on this, Mr. Darty's motion, does anyone else have any questions or comments that they would like to make, or questions for?
I do, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Gurley.
The original projection for this construction was 1.3 million, and the low bid came in at 2 million and some change. Any idea that $600,000+ what the difference was, that type of error?
Well, so it's $224,000 that we reduced the amount with that particular bidder.
Yeah, but from 1.3 million to 2 million.
I'm not sure if I understand your question.
We're reading the paragraph, it said that originally it was anticipated cost around 1.3 million and the lowest bidder was 2 million.
Okay.
That gap,
That was, they were explaining in the facilities meeting, it was because there are certain costs that are fixed costs regardless of how big the project is. And the project was small enough that that's one reason why they were saying not to rebid, was because those fixed costs, you know, you've got, I'm not a construction person, but they were talking about the different fixed costs that would be the same regardless of if it was a, you know,
but there's a
small building or a large building, and that's why this, you know, square footage.
Well, I understand fixed costs and overheads and things like that, but I'm asking the 655, 640,
They were
whatever.
saying that was related to those fixed costs.
But how did we miss it on the front end?
That was Mosley. They, the Mosley architect said that they were very surprised at how, you know, much over budget it was.
Okay, that's true.
And plus, the bidder, the companies that bid it, there was only three companies that bid for the project.
Mr. Mayor, I think that what was just brought out is a reason that I'm in favor of going out for bids again, because the taxpayers of Wayne County need to get the benefit of the doubt here. I believe if for example, we can save $500,000 by going out for bids and take another 30 to 45 days to do that, would that not be appropriate? I don't know of anyone that would be against saving that, and I'm not saying you could save that much, but from what I'm seeing at $384 a square foot, something's wrong here. I'm sorry, that's my experience.
And initially, it was at, what, above $4 a square foot?
That's
I mean,
correct.
$400?
That's correct.
May I ask them?
The bids have been trimmed as much as we could with the low bid. And this very discussion was held by our board.
I was just curious, Dr. McCollum, there, what is the average cost per square foot, say on Spring Creek versus this building? I'm trying to get a sense of a comparison with something.
Yeah, around $186
$186
per
per square foot versus the $384.
So this is almost double.
Right. And I think, as you've talked about, because what we kept hearing is because it's a small project, and that constructions right now is going well in Wayne County, and that if it was bidded out, it may or may not come back in over or under. So that's what our board struggled with. We don't know at this time whether it would come in over or under.
Mr. Bailey.
Mr. Chairman, rather than for the school board to think that we are trying to micromanage them, why don't we have the county manager and the chairman to sit down and talk about this before we put a motion on the floor to disagree with what they have?
Well, I've already done that.
Well, we withdraw your motion. But I don't want them to get the impression that when they make a decision that we're gonna just cut it, you know. I think we need to talk about it a little bit.
And the other thing that I wanted to say to this board, you know, this is money that's flow-through money to you, so it is not local taxes. I mean, it's taxes, as you said, but it is flow-through money that is approved through you for our sales tax.
One final comment.
And a lottery funds as well, portion of that.
One final comment, and I think your timing may be off from the standpoint that there are a number of other construction projects going on, and if this project were to begin later, just a month or two later, then it would open up some other firms that would in fact bid on this. I think timing has got a lot to do with it, and I think that if you rebid and have some flexibility of when the project could start, I think you will find that you'll be closer to what the architect had recommended to start off with. I know that you want some resolution to it, and I don't want to delay that. Do you feel like that anything anything short of this motion here would assist you?
No,
or-
I think 30 to 45 days is reasonable. You should be able to get bids within that time frame. I guess the one question I had was, did y'all put any criteria on that they must have built this particular type of structure before? I mean, I guess what I'm asking for, is there any special conditions that any contractor would have to meet, or is it just a straight bid?
Well, always, just a standard bid that we would be using.
Okay, there's no pre-qualification or anything like
Well,
that?
all the bidders we've had have been great construction
Okay.
folks.
All right. So with that, it's just a straight bid then? You should be able to get that in 30 to 45 days.
And Mr. Bell mentioned that, for the county manager and myself and Dr. McCullen and Ms. Bovenhouse and probably facilities and Mr. West, we do sit down and talk. I mean, we've started having meetings, and I think this project was probably mentioned in one of those meetings. But we are sitting down and talking.
Well, since Mr. Daugherty brought up the fact about other contractors, I would maybe go on board with giving it to the next meeting so that if someone has a surprise contract out there who might, if we did go out and someone who could express an interest in bidding for it, if we did ask the board to delay, we would have some reasonable expectation that there were contractors out there who would be interested in coming into the bidding process, so that we would not put it off 2 or 3 months, but 2 weeks to give just a little bit of open air to see if there were interested contractors who may want to be part of that new bidding process. You see, we need to have some expectation that
I understand.
we're gonna accomplish what you're saying we're gonna accomplish for the benefit of the board moving forward. It's gotta be some little middle ground and some expectation that we're gonna succeed in getting some new contractors.
I
follow
think that our concern of our board was the community of Goldsboro High School and the Goldsboro community looking at it, that it was going to be delayed and they would not get this project. They're very concerned about how the community of Goldsboro High School and the greater community feels about the project. So that's why it was brought to you today. So if it's delayed, it would have to be rebid, and it would be delayed, as I said, out as far as building it, 3 to 6 months.
Now, why would it be delayed that long? If you could have the bids back in 45 days, I'm not understanding why that would cause a 6-month delay.
Well, that's what our architects told us. But
I'm not following that. I mean, to me, if the award and notice to proceed would be delayed about 45 days.
That's why I suggested just a 2-week window to give what the chairman suggested, a further conversation, but within that conversation, Dr. McCullum, we would look real hard for possibilities of not delaying it if the process can be moved forward.
You can't get additional bidders after the bid date's closed, right?
Well,
you'd have to go out for bid.
No,
Right,
you have to go back.
You have to rebid the whole thing.
Yeah,
That's
if you're not satisfied with this pricing, you're gonna have to rebid it.
That's right.
You're gonna have to reject all the bids because you feel that and the justification under the law is that they far exceed what the architect's estimate was.
Well,
And what the budget is, and then you can rebid it. Now, the one caution I would say about the delay, and John, I understand what you're saying about talking about things, but the one thing there is that cost us another 14, 15 days before we meet again. If you move forward with it, you're that much closer to already having the rebid out. It's simply a matter of, and Pam, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's simply a matter of taking the original. They could call a special meeting, reject the bids. Once you do that, you could send out basically the same bid and the same bid documents. It would just change the dates of when the bids are due in. And so you could get those in probably within 21 to 25 days. You might have a decision on this within 30 days.
You just stole my comments, Mr. Wood, because that's what I was gonna say is, either act on it today, because if we, sitting down talking for 2 weeks, that's not gonna solve the problem.
No, because
I mean,
you're right, because the
it's-
only
I mean,
issue
it's just
is,
gonna prolong it 2 weeks.
the real issue here is it worth taking 30 to 45 days to see if we could substantially cut this cost? It's hard to believe that if you rebid this, it's gonna come in higher. And so what we've lost is 30 days to 45 days. So, and there's a substantial possibility that it'll come in lower, because this is double what those costs at Spring Creek were that Beverly was talking about.
And Mr. Chairman, just to go on to what Dr. McCullough said, the Goldsboro community needs to know we're not against this project. We were for it. We'll make it
And I think
happen.
you can go
I
on
just think
record
it's-
as
I just think
making
it's
it,
too high.
and you can go on record today as making it clear to assure the Goldsboro community, we're not saying we don't want the project.
I hope that's what I just said.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to explain, and I know this is the Board of Education decision and their facilities, but it's hard to explain to the taxpayers why it's gonna cost twice as much to do this as it does to build a new school. I mean, it's just, and we're gonna be questioned on it.
Mr. Chairman, two things I hope that in rebidding, and that is, one, that we're flexible on a start date. So that, if you pre-qualified and say you've got to begin construction July 1st, and that particular companies are tied out until August the 1st, then you're not gonna get a bid from that company. So I'm hoping you're gonna be a little more flexible, or be flexible in regards to start date. We are very committed to this, or we wouldn't have approved to start off with, but we want to we want to be able to have resources available to do other projects. Let's put it that way. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Mayor.
I agree 100% with for the project, but look back. What took place at the Still Memorial Library when we redid it? We saved right at $1 million. So that's a prime example of 30 to 45 days. We should be able to save some money based on what I'm seeing your square footage is. And, but the public and Goldsboro needs to understand, in the county, that this is just doing due diligence for the taxpayers' money. No matter if it's federal tax dollars or whatever, it's still our money. And so if 30, 45 days shouldn't be a problem, let's put the taxpayers in this particular case, let's satisfy our concerns and, of course, the taxpayers' concern, and go out for a rebid.
Mr. Chairman, one other thing I would mention, if we're going to rebid it, one of the things that we could do, or the school board could do, is put the items that they had to cut back in as alternates.
Correct.
And that way, if the pricing comes in as good as we hope it does, we may in fact be able to put those things back in.
That's correct.
And still at a lower price.
Rebid it at the full price.
But if you do them as alternates, you've already identified what you're going to take out if it doesn't.
That was discussed as well.
Okay.
Mr. Wood.
Okay, we have a motion on, any other discussion?
Well, then, if I hear us right, the option, the possibility of rebidding will give us an opportunity to put all the things back in that you originally wanted and see if we can get a better price and make it even a better project.
Right.
The timeframe that's of essence is to let the bidder know that the contract's not available to the bidder.
And if I could, on a personal note, we're not trying to get in your business. We're just trying to work through this in such a way that everybody benefits. We really are.
You restate your motion, please, if you remember it. Marshall, will you read his motion, please?
Let me go way back. His motion was to rebid the Goldsboro High School Common Area Project go out for rebid to minimize the cost.
Can I amend his motion just a little bit? Ask the school board, not tell the school board, ask the school board to rebid it.
Did I say tell in there?
Well, I don't know, but
No.
I just want to clarify.
Okay, please add ask.
Should we
Request.
Should we also add that they put in the identified, things that they took out.
I think they were.
Yeah, they are gonna do that.
Yeah, we'll take the,
I just didn't know if it needed to be
discussion
on our
that you said today
Sure.
and duly note
I
that.
appreciate it.
The only other thing, do we want to put in there just a statement that the Board of Commissioners is committed to do this project?
Yes, sir.
Please.
That was Bill's comment, and I think that was excellent.
Please amend my motion to
Yeah.
include that.
Yeah.
They're sending me to sensitivity training.
What's the date on that?
Marcia, if you would now read it again, please, with the changes.
To ask the Board of Commissioners to rebid the Goldsboro High School Common Area Project and to let the Board of Education know that the Board of Commissioners is committed to do this project.
Well, wait a minute, that first sentence didn't sound right.
No, it should,
Said Board of Commissioners.
should be Board of
Board of
Education.
Education, excuse me.
Okay, all right, now we got it.
I wrote that, that's it.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
Yes.
Mr. Bailey?
I know you're trying to prevent me from amending your motion, but I'm still going to amend Mr. Daugherty's motion and say we need to send the county manager and the chairman over to talk to the school board administration and go from there. And it wouldn't be but just a few days. So I won't be, Goldsboro High School is in my district, so.
It's mine, it's in mine too, Mr.
I know, but, I will not vote for Mr. Daugherty's motion. Not that I'm going against the commissioners, but it's just that, I just think that the school board, made a decision and we should work with them to make the changes as necessary, not just come up and do a motion to disagree with what they said.
but,
understand.
Mayor, I don't see this motion as disagreeing because we've added the good items back in there that a little bit of inspection might cause the project to be enhanced. So, and I see this as only asking the board to look at those possibilities. And this could be put into the motion, but I think maybe our manager understands and our chairman understands that we want them to be in close discussion with the school board on this matter without us having to put it in. Glad to put it in there, but I don't see it as anyway. It's just a simple looking at the dollars, Mr. Bell, and it's not disagreeing with the board. It's just us looking at the dollars and giving us a little bit of time to see if it can be enhanced. As some of the other projects in the past were bettered by a little bit more inspection.
But, Mr. Chairman, it is disagreeing with the school board. We could have got the same results by going over talking rather than for us to making a decision here. That's what I'm disagreeing with. We are actually making a decision about something that the school board made. And we could have got the same results by going, sitting down, talking about the situation.
Mr. Kamari?
No.
John, was that a move? Did you move to amend?
Pardon me?
Did you move to amend?
No.
Yeah, my motion was to, my amendment motion was to have the chairman and the county manager to set up a meeting with the leadership of the school board and talk about the situation, rather than for us to just to make a flat-out motion and telling the school board to go a different direction.
Are you adding that to his motion, or you're putting that as a different motion?
I want to make a different motion.
All right, which motion do we vote on first?
Whether or not to amend a motion by saying that the only thing would be is that you and the manager and the finance officer would talk, the interim superintendent, that finance officer, and that chairman.
I have no problem with your motion. If you authorize them to go ahead and allow them to rebid the project, or encourage them, let's put it that way, would encourage them to rebid the project. I'd have no problem with your motion, if as long as that meeting would encourage them to rebid this project.
Well, it could do that. That's what I'm saying. If we went the direction that I'm talking about, it wouldn't give the appearance that the school board made a decision and we are sort of overriding it.
I don't have a problem with doing exactly what you're saying, Mr. Bell. I mean, Mr. Wood, we'll sit down with the proper people from the Board of Education and the school board, and we can talk about it. The only thing is, if we do not meet or my word left me. Anyhow, if we can't come to an agreement
Then I'll vote
with
for Joe's
that
motion.
group, I mean, the worst it can do is prolong it 2 weeks.
That's right. That was my reason.
I mean, I do not have a problem with going and sitting down and talking to them, but I'm not gonna sit here, and I don't think Dr. McCullum would. Neither one of us are gonna guarantee we're gonna come out with an
Yeah, I
agreement.
understand.
Well, and effectively, with you not approving it today, it'd have to be rebid anyway.
That's my point. You're right. If
I
we
mean,
don't approve
just so
it,
you
they're
know
gonna have to
that,
rebid it
whatever,
anyway.
it will have to be rebid according to the contractor.
That's right.
Yeah, and
So it'll be a moot point.
And plus, we're gonna put it off another 2 weeks, and Dr. McCullum's already said that time is of the essence, so let's just count the 30 to 40 days it's gonna take to rebid, because that's probably ultimately what's gonna happen anyway. Because I think we all agree that the price per square foot, as compared to what we're used to seeing, is way out of kilter. So if the results are probably gonna be about the same in 2 weeks, we're not disagreeing with the Board of Education. We are suggesting, we are requesting that this rebid process take place for the benefit of the taxpayers of Wayne County or wherever the money's coming from. It still come out of taxpayers' pockets, wherever it came from. That's my point.
Well, I got 2 motions on the floor, and we got to act on them before we go back and someone make the 3rd motion. Marcia Reed, can you read go ahead, Mr. Doherty, first.
Just clarification. If we don't approve this today, this budget amendment and this request, it has to be rebid anyway. Is that correct?
That's what
The
this.
deadline's coming,
That,
yes.
the deadline is done.
How long were the bids good for?
Well, he's already given us an extension on it, so that it can be brought to you today.
Okay, so if it's not approved today, they're gonna have to rebid it anyway. So I have no problem with John's motion of asking y'all to go and meet with the school board and try to find a resolution to the
Well,
problem.
the only thing about that is he may give them another extension.
I agree. Oh, they may give it another extension.
He gave them one, he can give them another.
Oh,
and
you're
never-
right, you can.
Yes, particularly if he wants it at this price.
Oh, okay, see, things get complicated here now. Well, you would move your motion, and let's go ahead and ask them to go ahead and rebid.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Are you comfortable with that?
Yes, I'm comfortable.
Okay.
So you withdraw your motion?
Yes.
You've withdrawn your amendment.
I withdraw my motion.
That's fine.
All right, I have a motion on the floor. No more discussion.
Please.
All in favor, show sign of right hand.
Come on, John, raise that hand down there.
All opposed? I didn't see him raise on neither one.
Well, if he didn't vote on either one, then he voted with me. Thank you, John, I appreciate it.
Chairman Acon, Commissioners, we will take the items that you noted today and take it back to our school board and be coming back with you with another request as soon as possible.
Please do.
Okay. And thank y'all for coming on
Thank you,
short
Doctor.
notice today. Appreciate it.
Do y'all want to stick around?
Yeah,
We got,
will.
we've gone over the wet well, but I think everything's fine.
Can we go ahead and handle the wet wells so that they can go ahead and leave?
Yes, I would recommend we do that.
Okay, let's move on to item number 7, the wet wells at the Spring Creek and Grantham School.
Okay, we went over that earlier this morning. These are items we would have to do anyway, in the interest of keeping the project timeline intact and moving as quickly as we can. We went with the option of getting pricing from Metcon and TA Loving, which is the, as y'all know, is the joint partnership doing the 2 schools. And they have gotten 3 prices for us, and what we're doing is going with the lowest price. The Spring Creek wet well is $89,210, and the primary difference there is that there's $16,500 additional for a drop manhole. And then on Grantham, there's $68,775 for the wet well there. And so the total of the change order is $157,900. $1,985. I want to be clear about this. The county will be paying for this because we're responsible for the sewer. But because we're adding it to their contract, they had to vote on it also. It will actually be a change order to the Metcon contract, but the county will be responsible for paying this bill. So have I confused everybody?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Darley.
I move that we approve the budget amendment 434, which authorizes them to send in a change order to construct the wet wells at Spring Creek and Grant.
I have a motion on the floor. Any discussion?
One question. Do we anticipate any additional change orders or cost on the sewer? Do we know any of?
Not that we're aware of.
This is kind of, I just think he's
Well,
added up.
what, I just want to remind you, you would have had to do these things. We're just speeding up the process.
Yes, I
And
understand.
we didn't bid it out formally, but Metcon got 3 prices from subcontractors on this. So, and our engineer was involved in reviewing those prices as well as the school board.
My calculator just keeps going up is the reason I'm saying.
And we've been working with this issue with the school board probably for 45 to 60 days, I think.
Okay, I've got no objection.
Okay.
Just for clarification purposes, we are going to have additional cost for sewer
Oh,
to
yeah.
install the sewer line.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you're
So
gonna
we will
have
have
that,
additional
but
costs.
that's a known project.
There will be additional costs, but this would have initially been in, it's just gonna be 2 change orders or two budget amendments instead of 1. I mean, because
That's right.
this
And-
would have had to have been done anyhow.
That's right. And what we will do, once our engineer's finished and has approval from, the water district, is we'll be bidding out, the water district will bid out the Spring Creek job. Once he's finished with the Grantham project, the county will be bidding out the Grantham project. And on both of those, had we not done this in the interest of time, these wet wells would have been included in both those projects. So what we're doing is speeding up.
But they're all part of the overall construction plan along with the
Right.
cost
Of the
we're
se-
talking
of the
about,
sewer,
right? But
of the sewer.
nothing out of the plan itself.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. And again, I just want to remind you, this, in the interest of time, the school board met and they voted for this yesterday.
That's correct.
Unanimously.
That's correct, unanimously.
So we need to follow suit.
Just hint, hint.
That was very, very subtle.
Did you have any more comments?
He's explained it very well, and I do want to thank for all the cooperation, because it took a lot of entities to go together, a lot of people to talk about what was best for those projects, and we came out with a good project and a good price, I think, for what's needed.
All right, I have a motion on the floor. Any other discussion? All in favor, show sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous.
Thank you, and I understand that this will keep us on the time frame for the schools to open up in August. That's what we're after.
All right, thanks.
Thank y'all.
Thank you
Thank you
all.
for coming on short notice.
Yes, thank you very much for coming, because that was short notice.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Wood, go back.
I think we're back to new business, number 1, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to call on Debbie Jones and let her introduce the representative from Northwoods Consulting Partners to go over the project that we're going to discuss with you. Do y'all want a short break first?
Please,
Okay.
give us about a 5-minute break.
My bones are cracking.
We are back in session. Debbie, if we would, give us just another minute. We need to act on one quick item right quick. Mr. Wood, let's take care of item number 3, then the school board will have all those taken out of the way.
Okay. Item number 3 is page 89, and it is the small parcel of land down in Mount Olive that the Board of Education wants to convey to you. And today what we would do is accept that conveyance. And then what they want you to do, they're requesting that you accept the property and convey the property to the University of Mount Olive in consideration of the services rendered by the university to the Wayne County Public Schools. Dr. McCullen has given you a list of some of the activities that the university allows the public schools to utilize their facilities at no cost. And this acres previously used in connection with the ag program for the old Mount Olive High School. So that's the request from the school board. And the staff's recommendation is that you accept the dedication from the Board of Education and agree to convey it to the University of Mount Olive as requested.
Mr. Chair,
Pleasure of the board.
I would like to put that in the form of a motion to accept the conveyance and accept those things Dr. McCullough has put down as graciously done in the cooperation and everything, and make it in the form of a motion.
I have a motion on the floor. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor, show sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank y'all.
Thank you very much, and the University of Mount Olive really appreciates this. I'm sure they'll let you know that. School board does also.
Okay, now back to number 1, Mr. Wood.
Okay. Again, I'll call on Debbie Jones with DSS to introduce the consultant. Debbie.
Good morning. We are still in mourning, aren't we?
Yes.
I'd like to introduce Dustin Eubanks to you. He is with Northwood Solutions, and I would like for you to seriously consider the information that he has to share. Social services, as you all know, has seen an increased number of clients over the last few years, and we are desperately looking for solutions to enable us to serve Wayne County clients in a timely manner, and we think we found the solution. Dustin?
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
All right, I'm going to try and run this through on here. Think it'll work? Perfect. I'm going to try and make it short and sweet for y'all. I know you've been through a lot this morning and talked about a lot. So currently, Northwoods partners with 37 counties. Actually, as of last night, 38. Harnett County just approved a motion to sign up for the services as well. So we're working to add about 10 more counties this year, and we're actually helping counties with their plans of correction. So there are counties out there that have gotten technical assistance from the state for lack of documentation, lack of oversight, and we've been helping a lot of counties with the plans of correction on that. So there are 2 kind of counties we work with, the counties that are trying to avoid some oversight from the state and the counties that have already got it. So we're trying to be a little bit more proactive here in Wayne County. We are the only system that is at the table right now with the NC Fast team in order to be integrated with that solution. We're working on that as we speak. So we actually just met with them last month. Our package and our solution sits outside of the requirements of the NC Fast State system. It does something completely different, and that is why we get federal and state reimbursement on the package that we offer. As Debbie alluded to, there are some challenges going on over at the DSS, and I'll go through it very quickly. 29% turnover. In 2008, it was 15. The state average is around 22%, so y'all are a little bit above that. As she said, it takes time to collect the documents, the information, and then communicate effectively and service the customers in a timely fashion. The state systems are not always dependable. They're not always up. They're not ready to go all the time. The paper-based systems, you're spending a lot of taxpayer dollars for people just to touch and shuffle paper. Y'all have your iPads up, which I think is a 10% increase in demand for services since 2008. That's huge. That's big. There's a lot. That's why the 3 building communication manually across. If you look at the information, graph assistance and Medicaid, not ACA, which does for the FIN to D application, whether they get it or not, it did as well. It can this big, 400 page is not handle the documents. that information. Isn't that uncommon? And for taxpayer store information. We're talking information comes in, and I can share it with them, which helps with fraud prevention to make sure with and who it is. If we look at how the community and a disconnected have to have some interacting with the family and updates with client, say % of your day is do a national good use. We're talking about a % of their swing to client to spend. Since we're 122 minutes, about could actually go and handle a lot of different increase in the service increase 2008, and you have not had to handle taking the current staff demand for services is with. Looking at some of the different ways, just say a day per worker across Mercer County saves up 1.8 million to get the staff using software to get is needed in order to community. A couple of different ways we can look at that are kind of weaved. It's good. There are not know that reduced turnover, which is and all of these things abstractly less spread of the offices to 5 years. County investment for our system. One and go. This is we want to include it $9 so that we don't have to negotiate. So this by the state. You'll get about 1.1 million in the first year, and then spend about $1 million. Then the staff hired. And also, y'all are incurring now. If I came in to get services from us, again, give them the full electronic. As I said, 2 hours per day. Case review time reduced by 66%. With high case loads, that's huge. That's about 40 minutes. That's how we do more with. We use the same staff to handle an increased demand for services. Reducing the lobby wait time over there, making sure we're going to set it up so that if somebody says, we know we're going to send it separately as well. So ensure that the demand for service action. Right now there's a big demand for my work where anybody could, I don't have to call a worker to answer the question of what else I need to provide in order to get my benefits in a timely fashion. For the county would be cost. This is how do you react to that? And with paper processes, you might just hire more staff and keep counts. And when you hire additional staff, you get the cost per. And you got to do all that. Keep running that. I talk about piggyback RFP made. I don't need more over the long run. I need county made last night. Experience and servers to get the information. Compliance. There are processes. Here's your plan of corrections. It's all guides to clean up. It's not the state. And you just want to make that risk. And some of the other counties, as I see, nobody says it doesn't. They're very unique service come from. Beaufort County reduced 30 office reduction in turnover, and it's actually more than. And they used to go to more salary. I couldn't have it. And Robinson for additional storage. They took the file rooms and some other things they did. Government impact on social. Tell you spend families. That's what you want to be social systems and clarity. We also won the neighborhood with a quote and bake it, but we help them to control and predict passes, which you all have here with that because patterns and staff here and increase. Quick say, and I leave it here. Debbie can help you with it.
It was amazing because I worked in government for 30, and we moved to files were available. The state, someone in Raleigh, someone in, and as we were both looking at this, we're so far behind, and we see like the amount is tremendous, was it? There's the inability for social work, more information at the same time. What we've got to do is the point cover the money in 2 years. We'll actually start. We don't have to expand. This is a premium, and they've just eased. Anyway, I was not able to meet at the last meeting for DSS because I was remodeling my house, and I told me there's a board. So I get approved it yet? Say there's this particular point, Commissioner, present agreement and move forward as a county.
This morning at 8 o'clock. How much is one for scanning? What was it back then?
You should, if you'll look at spend line, do you see that?
Let me page 60.
That's what I'm.
This is confidential record, 142 recently just on, and that refers to overhead.
Let me walk you through the financial. You'll see in the big hardware and equipment, 128. It's in the next 68,000 back. Solution $100, but we get 5,000 states, the most from the state. We match services, 500. The annual support, the annual is 2,066 back from that. Cost is 1,800 a year. 602,000 anticipated operating fee by 305. So $15,324. That's the amount that you over 59. Now, how will you go to the back? This is how we save $42,512 about on. Office supplies for staffing, that's now we're taking out total cost savings of $308 annual. What we have is opposite savings. So in $1,000 for each of $28,000, cost $767 up above. Reimbursement of that of $646. reimbursement costs of $982. On cost of $213,000. Reimbursement, each of those $14,000 for it over the months of $239 there. And it's 5 to 2 years. He had $240,000. Now, the interest, as I told you earlier, they'd be about 1.65 a year at the interest from $35 9 months. Either that at the period for and from $138,000 because we will have cut. And then you still see some additional. This is on the recon.
Questions?
Oh, I follow this. It costs over
570, you're correct. We did report 13,067. You're correct.
I first heard this. 68 counties on 38 of last night, so 60. That's what I wrote down. Trying to talk me the right. Why? And sometimes we ask the county. Johnston County is not on, and they have. Without us going and ask Johnston, and I would select to hire down. Why? They did.
First county program that they ago homegrown. That's with them.
Well, that's what popped in my mind when I heard into this evidence. This a computer they can use, and when I look at this one, mine would also possibly meet out these amount of dollars that are going to pay for some part of it is borne by the citizen.
If I may answer your question, regarding, for one thing, and we of course there, the program that you passed, and understanding that having some difficulties in the two. NC Fast is a creature unto itself, and everything is not necessarily going to connect with it. They are still choosing to go with their internal program. But now Johnston County is one that their social services has their own dedicated IT staff. We no longer have that in this county. We have countywide IT.
You
And
say
so
we no longer have it. That meant you had it one time.
when I first came to this county, we had IT person, and then that was changed.
One question to, if you add all those people together, it might be something like dollars for that. This is my question. Like generic mail, see this cost going down, the more folk you add, costs are spread it out.
Also, the first question that you asked as well, if you don't mind. I mean, if you look at the cost of about $120,000 fully loaded, and then I would also argue, while Ms. Jones is asking for a software system, and in Johnston County, they're supporting a full-time developer, and they're asking for a I'm just curious as to which one you think is running, because I would think to not reach already approved developers on staff would cheaper in the long run. And that's just my thought on it. We've replaced homegrown systems time and time again, and they take a lot. You've invested in it, and you kind of have to see it through, and it can be.
Well, and I guess this is recently, and the question was asked. Everyone knows that every county is oftentimes bought into a large from the other. And it's fraught with danger. Johnston, and oftentimes not. I don't know what the people are coming today is about.
To answer for stepping off there, cost has come down some over time. It does. Our services, partnered with 30, are getting better and faster and quick services. It's just kind of that cost to do the business, something that you don't get anywhere else. We're going to provide substantial rollout support where we're going to be dealing with the staff, talking through business scenarios, polishing business practice. We're not talking about implementing software here. We're polishing business practice. We're telling them is to make sure that they can get that food nutrition application door in a clean fashion.
One last bit, oftentimes when reasons are given, we talk about turnover in staff. Is there some direct relation? But this will, certain counties have a 13% in turnover. Can that be a two, or was some other reason they, as in this? And I'm just wondering, how do you attribute it to whether or not it's the workload, paper load?
Well, as I said, I've talked to with that do have this program. When we big issues with writing costs, I thought no way. But all of the directors are, and I think it's important the fact that really what we're talking about forward technology, we're talking about huge for our age and change from how we do business. We handle pieces of paper over course of save in the workplace. The director in the county to go work, who is nothing new there. They've all staff. County does not have had work done for county to the back to both. I was because of this program. It frees you one.
Last question to the gentleman. I see on page 70, it's now for the city. Hardware, I was always tweaking software. Had some good hardware sitting up there, but wouldn't read the software. At what point, concerned that upgrade your software, that you don't do that? Is that by the new software?
We're actually get that at your cheap.
Whenever you all upgrade your software, then we gotta work.
Future-proof our hardware. We talked to the department, what specifications, they're edge, they're pretty advanced. And the reason for that, proof you for at least, we know that we can, and you're not gonna have to replace that hardware on a typical depreciation cycle. You'll be able to hold on to it, you'll be able to replace it just as you do today, and make you go out and buy.
So these dollars fit average 8.
No, that's actually a great question, and a substantial amount, thinking about 25 workers, what they system and need to be successful with it. So that is actually the total number of all of that work, and we'll have every worker specifically. So that
And our IT people have been involved in that.
I commend my ear that sees such good service. I find amazing understanding $100 and that, and I'm getting excited. Please tell me about it.
That's the side of it.
You've got 512.
That's over us coming in, and we're going to, the system, Beaufort County uses it, and there's 100 across the state. And Oberry has this thing that puts on it. So we sit and spend substantial staff here in the staff so that Johnston's County system or somebody else's system, business their way. You're adopted like it as much substantial configuration and also, and we do where it we need to support and train this after we left. Now we're still available to know that there are people on staff that know just as we do, so that you've got only the training and implementation going forward. Staff.
That service first quarters.
We're looking at probably about an 8-month schedule here of providing the. This is not a small one. With Hardin County last night, they just did so they just did 40 staff. That's going to be about we're ripping every pro services, which is great. It's going to lower you know most counties do. You're going to get a look at the economy.
And when you implement it all at one time, all at one time.
It's going to be small micro phases over that. Spend some time with economic services. We're going to spend some time with social work. We're going to spend some time with child support. We're going to get the appointments and lobby running, but it's continuous going forward. You know, project. You put the floor down, you put the walls up. It just keeps on rolling.
And then the last here were annual support services. So what you're looking at some on $1,000 that is basically for services kind of double dipping in regards to, because going to the second year, if I'm on annual support services, would be second year.
Support costs. So there's the 5 I'm talking about, which is in process changing, training, overhaul, coaching the staff and mentoring them on how to use the software. But then there's the other side of it, which that $220,000, that isn't all us. There are some other partners in there as well that are using that to provide additional on this project. But what we're providing with access to the upgrades, we're going to do those for you through the process. We're going to provide support if there was an issue with the software. So it's kind of 2 different buckets. One is the maintenance, the maintainer, and making sure that it's updated, it's ready to roll, you're getting the upgrade. Part of it is the change. It's the shock of getting staff to go to a paperless system.
Additional licensing for laptops that are 5 laptops, is there additional licensing for those 5 additional laptops?
That's an excellent question. So there would be additional costs for every worker you would above. It's an aside left, it's over. You know, you could roll that over to a different staff member. It's kind of a 2 or 1 day at 200 incur additional costs.
Did I understand in the present, you get out there in the field and you do not have to have internet access?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And how are you just putting the input into the computer when you get back to the office, you just download or download it?
You could put a data plan on that iPad if you wanted to. I think there's money in the budget for that here, but we're even talking about, you know, do you want to do that with Verizon, or do you want to, you know, or do you want staff to work off of a Bojangles Wi-Fi?
Well, we don't want to add additional cost here, so.
So we're already at the top. You know, that's up to you if you want to cut down. But what we're talking about with that is that we're talking Wayne County. I lose cell service when I cross the county line.
Sure.
So we need social workers to be empowered to make informed decisions. I'm going to sit down with you and your family, and I'm going to find out if you're a good person, a bad person, if you're safe for this child or you're not. And that decision cannot be contingent upon my internet. I need the case file right there, and it's going to be on the iPad. They're going to have access to it. And as long as they've got internet, it's syncing up. It's downloading that new case information.
So it syncs up when it gets to internet access.
Perfect.
Is that right?
Yep, and then they can add additional case to it, fill out a document with the family to get mom services at a local food pantry. And when they're done, it'll sync up. They could even start the food nutrition application for a mom with a new child, and it would notify the food nutrition worker as soon as this is synced and they can start it. I mean,
Have you met with Mr. George and negotiated this?
we've talked through it. I mean, he's beat me up a little bit on a couple of things, so I would say.
Well,
that,
I mean, I don't see any bruises on you, so I just want to make sure that you did in fact get beat up.
We
a
made
little.
sure they didn't show. I've been in social
Yeah.
services long enough.
She put a little bit of, she put a little bit of foundation and make on me today.
But if I could add this piece, what he's saying is very accurate, being in real time, because once that information is shared, then the food and nutrition worker, for instance, will have information, oh, mom and daddy had a fight last night, daddy's out of the house. We take daddy out of that household. That cuts down on fraud. We're working in real time, and it saves us in that end of it.
And that's, so one of the things, a great example of that is child support is pretty much siloed by law. But yet we can actually unlock that so that you can share that information in a confidential way. So if I take custody of your children and you're getting child support, I can immediately notify the child support worker and I can funnel those dollars back to the county. There's a whole bunch of additional soft savings that we just don't know, we don't predict yet, but as there's also funds for fraud prevention as well that's out there. So there's a lot of additional funds that we're trying to preserve conservatively, as Mr. Wood said.
And we were very conservative with our estimates, with saving paper, that sort of thing. We were very conservative. I really expect a bigger savings in that area.
The iPads, if something were to happen, say they got stolen off the social worker or whatever, can that be turned off from another place?
Yes, you will be able to remotely wipe that.
So you can clean it out, right? Okay.
And it will also be encrypted and unlocked on that, so that if I'm only carrying 15 cases as a social worker, which would be awesome in Wayne County to only have that small, I would only have those cases on it. So it's really gonna limit the liability. It's not gonna be a portal to every case in the county.
Just want to make sure we had the ability to cut it off.
And we will still be honoring all the confidentiality that each program requires.
Yep, sorry.
I want to go back to something Mr. Doherty asked about, was the professional service and the annual support. David, did you say we have 225? Was that
It's 213,000.
No, I'm talking about the number
You're
of
talking about employees.
Oh,
No,
I'm sorry.
no, that was a misquote. We actually have 203 employees.
203.
What he's looking at are some of the temps that come and go, and so that artificially inflates the numbers. I do not have that many.
Okay, so you got 203. And how many of these trainers or whomever whatever you call them, will be coming to the counter to work with this 203?
It would be anywhere from 2 to 5 at any given time.
2 to 5 people.
Yeah, and most of them are North Carolina residents.
Well, no, I'm not, they could be from Florida, that's not. But you're talking about, if there's 2 to 5, then we're probably talking about 3, average, into this 203 people. So how many hours do you expect for each one of those folk to get in training?
That's a good question. So you mean the hours that they're going to be down?
Yeah, and because, you see, I've just heard horror stories on other programs where the person on the ground was not trained properly and the training wasn't sustained. And so all I'm looking at is, I was sitting here imagining that you might be sending 10 people. But if you're sending 3 into 203 people, and you said once we leave, and how long do you think you're gonna be here to get this training done? I think these are just some questions that we wanna know, and I'm greatly in favor of the program, David, but I just wanna make sure that while we talk about it today, we don't get out on the road and 3 people divided into 203 people, and they may be here for some month and a half or 2 months, and that's why I asked how long do you expect them to be here? Because I was ready to try to figure it out on this smartphone, but I was afraid it was going to start making a noise and the chairman would send me out. But that's why I went off. That's my concern right there is how much training, how long for each person, and
So it's actually an 8-month training, is what we're going to be. We'll be in county for 8 months with about an average of 3 at any given time. And most of these people, the reason I brought up the North Carolina thing is most of them actually have done the work in North Carolina. They've come from these services, and they've been doing this for a long time. where they've actually processed the food and nutrition application, and so they can come in and tell them very quickly and identify how to do it and the best practice around that. So most of our staff are very tenured. They've probably done, if they're coming to do the project here in Wayne County, then I would say that there's a really good chance that they worked in Lenore County and Beaufort and Buncombe and Mecklenburg and working on Brunswick right now. So there's just a list of, they usually have worked with 3 to 4, 6, 10 counties, depending on the person, before they came here. So they should be very well tenured in the North Carolina business practice.
I think also, Ed, to put y'all's minds at ease, Debbie's done a good job of checking these folks out. They have a good track record. The counties we've talked to have all said they got adequate training. They were able, the implementation process went well. For what it's worth, the implementation process went well in Lincoln County as well. So we have some history with these folks. We know they've done a good job in multiple North Carolina. In fact, one of the strong suits has been that their training is good and that our people come away from there able to use the software as it's intended.
If I may add as well, I have taken my most techno person who is best trained to do this sort of thing and not upgraded the job, but rewritten the job description so that she will be joined hand in hand with those trainers. When they leave, she is going to be the go-to person for Northwoods at Social Services, and she'll be able to step up and take that over. So I have tried to look ahead and plan forward for that.
Anyone else? Mr. Gerald?
One thing, with storage space savings resulting in space needs for our employees and professional services of scanning debt savings, this is huge. My one request is that after that 8-month training and implementation period, let's come back with a 12-month report card and see what kind of illustrative example we have there. I think it'd be very good to see.
I agree with that, and I think further it'd be great when we do that, is to take you guys over there and let's walk through some of this.
I think it's very appropriate and
Sure,
helpful.
love to do that.
Anyone else? No, I just got a question. Am I correct in you saying that your caseload had increased since 2008, 89%?
Yes, sir.
That's correct. Not only do we have a paper problem, that's a problem.
It is a problem.
That's a problem.
And we've got to make it more efficient. That's the bottom line. There's no question this is expensive, but the way we're doing it now is more expensive.
And you know, we've talked about the fact we wanted a presence 5 days a week. We've got a lot of people working 6 days a week and have been for months and months.
And we're still behind.
I'd just like to ask a question. Debbie.
Yes, sir.
Is it 89% a result of folk moving into the county and from other countries or other counties or other states?
No,
Where would you think, or is it just that the need is internally?
It's Wayne County residents for the most part who are no longer employed full-time or who are taking lower-paying jobs or who've lost their jobs altogether. For the most part, they're not people who've moved in. It's just a reflection of the economy.
That's when the recession hit in 2008, and then we had the Affordable Care Act come in right after that.
Yeah, you got the Affordable Care Act, you got NC Fast.
It's been a perfect storm.
Well, you're saying the Affordable Care Act brought in more people into the system?
Well, remember, they're the gatekeeper on that.
Big time.
It's increased our workload. For every person, every individual who receives a supplement has to first be denied for Medicaid. So even when we look at the application and we know instantly that they will not qualify, we still have to work that case, and they have to have a denial before they can receive subsidy. We are, in fact, right now receiving referrals from TurboTax. TurboTax is sending electronic referrals to us. And we have the dubious distinction of being the first county in the state to receive a child care application through TurboTax. All of those are applications we have to work and process.
Mr. Bell.
I just have a question, since you mentioned the affordable care. What happened to those people if you didn't have affordable care? What happened to them? Where would they go? Who would be taking care
They
of them?
would be uninsured, and they would be showing up at the health department or at the watch van or going without services and going without care.
So it's about like Mr. Goodranch, you pay me now, you pay me later. Huh?
Well, yes, sir. Yes, sir. And through the years, I have sat across the desk from many a person who was crying and saying, I'm going to die from cancer because you won't give me Medicaid. Well, no, ma'am, your income's $2 too high. I'm sorry. And that does happen. We follow policy.
Okay, any other discussion? Pleasure of the board.
Make the motion that we accept the, what was it, 700 and something? That we accept this and move forward with Northwoods at that Department of Social Services. And
I think the motion needs to be that you give notice that you're going to piggyback on to Brunswick counties. Then at your next meeting, after having given the notice for 10 days, you can then say you want to sign the contract.
excellent way of putting that, Mr. Ford.
So-
That's so moving. That's why he went to law school and I didn't.
That's why I got you to make it.
Hey, I saw them all looking at me.
Have you got that, Marshall?
Yeah, notice that we're gonna piggyback on the Brunswick County contract.
Yeah.
And vote on it at the next meeting.
Right.
Is there any kind of budget amendment needs to go?
I was gonna just suggest that we put it in the amount of $1,702,888, because that is the Brunswick County contract.
I really to add that to my motion.
Now you heard the motion. How much was that amount again?
$1,702,888.
It hurts less if you say it real fast.
But remember, you're getting quite a bit of that reimbursed by the state.
That is the only thing that redeemed you today.
And I'm telling you, it's
I agree
such,
with that,
as
too.
she said earlier, it's such a huge change. And the system is so archaic. We had to bite the bullet and try to get, at least into the 20th century, we ain't quite to the 21st yet, but I think this is going to go a long ways of cutting down staff turnover and solving some of our space problems and some other contracts that we can probably end with this step.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor. Any other discussion? No other discussion? All in favor, show sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous.
And I need an extra bear. I about wore mine out today.
My granddaughter has wore out the other one, so I got a new one there.
Well, it is a stress reliever, isn't it?
It is.
Mr. Chairman, I believe we've got a luncheon.
We're not gonna finish before lunch. We've got
Recess.
a lunch date at Pregnancy Center, so we're gonna need to recess and come back.
You'll forgive me
When
if
it
I don't
comes time
join
for
your
lunch, we
pregnancy
leave.
class.
I need a motion for recess.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, recess. We're going to recess. How long is this gonna take, Marshall?
I would think we would be back now.
That was a good one.